Hello, and welcome to Maximal Fire. I'm Alex.
And I'm Johnny.
And tonight we are going to be talking Legio Vulpa. This has been an episode which I think Johnny has been banging on about since you took over.
Damn, it has been too long.
A little bit excited?
So excited. And just, ready to spread the good word of Vulpa.
You mean the good word of corn, you mean?
Yeah, but same thing really, isn't it?
I guess so. Not only that, we also have an interview tonight. I sat down with Chris from Tabletop Standard last night, and we started to talk about the Warbreaker. So if you do follow Tabletop Standard, there is it obviously does some of the best Titanicus bat reps out there, and he does a load of other content as well. Both myself and Chris helped Battlebling design their Warbreaker model. And so we thought we would sit down for a little section of this podcast and basically discuss, I guess, the design process, really, sort of some of the decisions that we made, and how we came up with some of the rules. If you do want to see a bit more in depth about the rules, then you can head on over to Tabletop Standards. Chris has put together a great video, basically walking through blow by blow all the stats that we've given to it, all of the special rules, points, all of that kind of stuff. And then you can come and have a listen back to the section later on to kind of, well, I guess, hear how we came up with some of these things. It was really interesting. Well, say really interesting. I was involved from the conversation from the start, so it wasn't really interesting because I knew what we were going to say, what we were going to talk. I hope you find it interesting to sort of delve deep into our the deepest depths of our psyche.
Collective madness.
Yes, there's definitely a better that. So before we get going tonight, just the usual podcasty, YouTubey nonsense, just to kind of get us on the way. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please, give us a like. Please give us a 5-star review if that is available to you on your podcast platform. That all helps continue to spread the channel, as I say every single time. I'm sure if this is probably not your first, many of you, your first rodeo at Maximal Fire. If you're jumping in at episode 20, then maybe then in that case, go. But if you haven't, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. YouTube channel's growing really, really nicely. And of course, there is our Discord. Last time I checked, I think we were pushing 500 members on the Discord, which is pretty
wicked,
pretty incredible. We've been going about a year on that now, and obviously with this being quite a niche game, really, really good. Lots of activity going on that at the moment. Great little community, and it does kind of offer a bit more direct feedback than posting things on Facebook or Instagram. Like, we've got a great community, very supportive community. If you want kind of helps with your tactics, or if you want some painting advice, or just list building, or even just to come on and talk anything to do with Titanicus, it is a great place to do that. So all of the links will be in the description of the show. And I guess let's swiftly move on to our sponsor updates from the guys at Battlebling and the guys at Grimdark Terrain. Both of them have been with us a long old time. Battlebling has been with us since the start. We've shortly brought in Bronco from Grimdark a couple of months after. Great partners, and they continue. Both of them, I think, are really leading the way when it comes to Titanicus related stuff, really, third-party stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some of the stuff recently has been, tasty.
Well, if you look very carefully, there's a big subtle kind of giveaway. If you're watching a YouTube channel over my shoulder, that you might be able to see one of the less subtle releases that Battlebling have released recently.
I'll be shocked if anyone's missed it. Who's watching on video? Yeah. It is a toddler sat on your desk and cast out of resin and
I mean, I think it weighs more than my son when he was born. It's pretty close.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk the updates anyway. So we'll start with our friends at Battlebling. Obviously the huge news for them is that last Wednesday they dropped the Warbreaker. There was quite a lot of kind of discussion. I don't want to say uncertainty, but like they didn't really know how popular it was going to be. They are a small 3D printing company, and this was a massive kit. Like it takes over 24 hours just to print all of the pieces for one of them on multiple machines. And it's over 2 kilos of resin in weight. And there was a bit of a price tag associated to it. It sold for £295. But all of the decisions that Johnny made with regards to the pricing, with regards to how they were going to make it, was designed entirely to try and keep the costs as low as possible as they could feasibly create it from a company perspective. I mean, if you're printing things at home, it's the cost of 2 bottles of resin. But if you a company, you've got to think about import taxes. You've got to think about paying your employees, I guess.
Yeah.
And also
design costs on something like that is
exactly
alone.
Yeah. So the price was really. I was surprised when he told us the price. I thought it was going to be more expensive. It's about the size of a Warhound Titan, so you can kind of use that as your comparison.
The 28mm Warhound Titan, not
yeah,
the
It's
not
about
the Titanicus one.
It's the same. I think it's the same height, if not slightly bigger. I want to say, I'm not sure. I don't have a Warhound Titan to hand to compare it against, but as the Forge World Warhound Titan. And yeah, it was on sale for 24 hours. Mostly not so that they weren't trying to create any FOMO for it, but they, like I say, these things take a long time to print, and they didn't want to end up with a massive long backlog essentially while all of the machines were kind of turned to building this thing, really, to printing it all out. So it will be on sale again. I don't know when Johnny is kind of talking about putting that back on. It's probably going to be in the new year, I would think, when they can kind of get back up to capacity. But yeah, it is an incredible model. I'm in the process of building one. I was very lucky myself, Chris, a couple of other podcasts, and I guess a few other companies. I think Tarot Model Maker also got one, but we were lucky enough to kind of get our hands on one of these for free. And yeah, it's much better than I expected. And my standards were pretty high anyway, because I've seen Danny's stuff in the past, and I know that Johnny wouldn't sell something that he didn't personally sign off on as well. But as with all of the kind of photos that you see, a lot of things, they look quite static. It's not until you actually start putting it together that you kind of see the possibilities. But I mean, it's a big Titan. Let's be honest. You're not going to be getting, with the weight, purely with the weight alone, right? You're not going to be getting super dynamic poses out of this thing, because there's probably, I think there's about at least the majority of a kilo just sat on its shoulders as the cathedral, but it is every bit what you would want from a huge lumbering Titan on the board. So yeah, if you didn't manage to get your hands on one of those and you want one of those, don't worry, it will be out again, probably early next year. And have you checked out any of their Heresy range that they've just dropped?
I have indeed, and I'm very tempted because, yeah, close combat marines are surprisingly expensive to kit out normally. So yeah, some close combat arms. They've got some of the Imperial Fists, Power Fists, Solar Gauntlets.
Is it? Is it? You know
Is
what?
it Imperial Fists?
For some reason, I had it in my head it was Dark Angels, because John collects Dark Angels and he wanted stuff for it. But it may well be. I'm going to show my complete lack of knowledge of. But they're basically supposed to be the Solar Gauntlets. But they're called Sunblaze Gauntlets. They're completely different. And obviously they've released the clenched fist shoulder pads as well. So some alternative shoulder pads if you want clenched fists on them.
That very famous Legion
Yeah,
clenched fist. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Completely IP free.
Completely. I mean, look, it's a fist, right?
It's a fist, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a gauntlet, you know.
Who knew?
But yeah, then it is quite a small range at the moment, but they are expanding kind of quite frequently. They've got also on the shop at the moment, they've got some jump pack options. So if you want to combine that with the close combat weapons, you can turn your Mark 6 Marines into some some assault Marines. I don't believe it's on the website yet, but I've seen them kind of tease it in a couple of their videos. I had a word with John from Battlebling, not to be confused with Johnny, and he basically, I said to him that the Blood Angels have got these things called what are they called now? The Equinox Power Blades, which are kind of like a pair of blades, a sunset and a sunrise blade, I think they're called. And they've got different weapon profiles, and you get them. You can add them as upgrade options to things like the Dawnbreakers, which are one of their kind of assault squads, like elite assault squads. But they don't come with the option. So I had a quiet word with John, and I've seen. Well, probably anybody who watches their videos has probably seen a teaser that they are going to be releasing a pack of Equinox blades. So that's really good news for Blood Angels players. Gives us an option which didn't previously exist at Forge World, which is great.
I need to give him a nudge to make some surgical augments.
Absolutely,
for the Emperor's Children.
John is very, very easily manipulated.
Yeah, I've realised that. These last few podcasts.
And the one thing that I kind of completely forgot about, that they even did, but I remembered when I went onto their website, was it was probably about 6 months ago. They created a 28mm rotary cannon for the carapace on a 40k scale Reaver. So that is effectively your Vulca Mega Bolter. Because again, the 40k scale Titans, there's only, I think, Apocalypse missile launchers as an option if you buy the resin one from them. So I know a lot of the Titan owners clubs, or the Titan owners club, they play AT scaled up to 28mm. You know, you'll see them if you come to Beachhead on those kind of big events. You know, they'll do a Titan walk. But previously there was no model for the Vulca Mega Bolter, so they sell that, and it's only £55 as well, which for a Reaver weapon is actually pretty good value when compared against Forge World. And again, it's another option that didn't exist. So yeah, I mean, it's all kind of, I know it's been a bit kind of quiet on the Battlebling side for probably about a month while they were ramping up for this Warbreaker release, but now it's dropped. It seems to be all hands to the pumps again.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to more of the Heresy content.
Yeah, which reminds us, I really need to kind of dig out my Heresy stuff again, because I started all guns to the blazing to start with, got a load of stuff painted in one hit, and then life happened, and then the big pile of 40 Mark 6 Marines became quite daunting to do anything with. And they kind of rotted there a little bit.
Yeah. My box is hidden in the cabinet somewhere.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, outside. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, they're obviously looking to expand their range. The Heresy is a great way for them to kind of do that. And also a lot of people like to, add nameplates as well to Heresy models. Battlebling as well. Best value for money when it comes to nameplates. So if you do want to add a little bit of character to your special characters, then you should definitely check them out.
Oh yeah.
Should we talk Grimdark?
I'll go for it.
Ships, boats. It's pretty good. I wasn't expecting it to when it came out. The August and September pack came out quite quickly, because I know Bronco has got a young family now, and a lot of his time was being taken up with the birth of his daughter. But August and September came out quite close to each other, and he's now giving us harbour features, customizable ships. I'm not really sure how big the ships are. Looking at the pieces, they seem to be quite long. So I'm hoping something another big kit. I'm gonna get. I don't know if it's the same size as this. What's it called? The Samson, but looking at the pieces, it's got to be fairly long.
Yeah, it's a pretty beefy kit.
And then October was like a lot to kind of add on to the silos kit that he did back early on in the year. So we got some bigger sort of Promethean tanks and all this kind of stuff. So month over month, these sort of sets kind of expand. And if you wanted, the good thing is because he kind of like releases them in themed packs. If you don't want to buy every single month, you can just go, you know what, I want the Harbour set, and you've got 3 months worth of stuff at the moment, which will probably give you the collection for that. Or if you wanted Mechanicum themed stuff, there's a couple of packs which will give you what you need. So my 3D printer is nearly as neglected as yours at the moment.
Oh no, don't let it get that far.
I know. I ran out of resin, which is always a bad start. But then Elegoo did a mad sale on eBay, which was like buy 1 litre of resin, get another litre of resin free. So naturally, I bought. I think I bought 4 litres. But they were obviously using it to get rid of old stock. So it turned up in a bunch of 500ml bottles, because I guess nobody buys them in 500ml, various colours. So, but I think you can mix it all together. It's the same stuff. The colour of it doesn't really matter. But I've not returned yet to 3D printing. With the weather being so wet in the UK recently, it's not been ideal. But I've still got plans.
Last episode it was too hot. Now it's too wet.
We're never happy in the UK, are we?
True British experience, never being quite happy with the weather.
No, if it's not overcast and about 14 degrees, you won't get me saying that the weather's good. You'll never get me saying that the weather's good, but I won't be complaining about the weather if it's just dry but overcast and not muggy. But yeah, I still want to get. You're gonna have to remind me. I need to get a campaign map printed out. One of the hex-based campaign maps that Bronco did. That's on my list of things to do. I want to run us like a mini kind of local campaign at some point with the guys in Bournemouth, just to try and test out the waters, I guess, on something for maybe a future event. Who knows?
Possibly.
Yeah. Anything more on Grimdark?
I think you got it. I think that's it.
That's it, isn't it?
I say that's it, and that's a good amount of stuff there. But yeah.
Just the one Patreon shout out this month. We had loads to call out. I think it was quite recent for us actually recording a podcast. It was probably only 3 weeks ago, which for us is pretty rapid. So big thank you to David Brash. I hope I've got your name right. If you do want to join the Patreon, you do get to benefit from 10% off Battlebling, which is always good. You get that from the £3 up tiers, so you can, if you're going to spend 30 quid on Battlebling, you can give us a little bit of a Patreon hit, and then you'll get that £3 effectively back when you buy your purchase, and then from there on in, it's going to be 10% off. So, yeah. And we have a separate channel within the patrons section of the Discord, and we also occasionally do kind of like patron specific giveaways and prizes. We did one for our dice a couple of months ago, whenever it was. And I've got some custom stratagem cards that I'm looking to do something with at some point as well. I might have another little bit of a giveaway with those custom stratagem cards that we had made up. Okay, so events, as always, like still super busy. Like there still seems to be every couple of weeks there's events coming out.
Yeah.
Which is good.
It always feels really good, doesn't it? Because you always, you worry sometimes, right?
There's almost too many. I want to sell my tickets.
No.
But, it's good that people are getting options. What I am noticing, though, there seems to be a bit of a swing towards tournaments now. less narrative. Certainly the events coming up are predominantly tournaments, which is interesting because when we started doing our tournaments over a year ago, it was the other way. Like, we were one of the few places doing tournaments. I don't know if it's because we basically gave out our tournament pack and basically said, here, just if you want it, take it. But yeah, definitely a swing towards tournaments. There's quite a few coming up. There is 2 events happening on Sunday, the 25th of September. I believe there's tickets available for both, I believe. The first one is Twisted Titanicus in Bossard Hall, Leighton Buzzards. That's Sunday, the 25th of September. It's £25 and it's a 2,000 point tournament. Then you have the STTG Titanfall in Trinity House, South Shields. That's on the same day, Sunday, the 25th of September. That's £10. That is also a tournament. That is $18.50. You also have the added bonus of, if you go to that event, you'll get to meet me. So, like meet and greet and stuff, like all for the price of a £10 ticket. Amazing.
You're gonna find out they've just had a load of the tickets returned.
Yeah,
This goes live.
probably. I might set up a little stall and kind of like have autographs ready signed and ready to sign.
Of course.
Shake people's hands and stuff. Yeah.
Higher security for the weekend.
Yeah, I've got that sorted already. I'm already staying in one of 2 of the guys' houses that I've invited myself into. Rather than pay for a hotel, I've just demanded that they put me up like the internet diva that I am, Johnny.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so okay. So there's 2. That's kind of different ends of the country. Where? I think it is different ends of the country. Isn't it? No, you can't get much more further north than South Shields. But then Curtin Games are putting on another tournament. These guys just keep like one after the other. Like, it's really, really good. Like, if you're in that local area of Crediton in Exeter, then these guys, I think they're putting them on at least quarterly. This must be their 5th or 6th, I think, tournament. And this one is the Grand Cataclysm. And this one is a 2-day event. I think historically they've done 1-day events on the 15th and 16th of October. That's £25. It's also a tournament, and it is also $18.50. So, and again, that seems to be another thing that we're seeing is a kind of a bit of a swing towards $18.50 last couple of months. I don't want to say that we started it, but it was $17.50. Then we did.
The internet diva's coming out again, Alex.
Just saying. No, just saying. It was Reactor Meltdown 3 was $18.50. Now everything's $18.50. But anyway.
This is the first on the list. It's $18.50.
Hey, there's 2.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. The northern guys are doing it at $18.50 as well. And then Goonhammer are doing their second open tournament. Open event. They had the last one back at the first half of the year. This one is now set up for the 29th and 30th of October, so Halloween weekend. That's at Nottingham Girls' School. It's a £40 ticket over 2 days. It's a narrative event. Good to see the narrative events kind of coming out the woodwork. And they have a varied points system based on the games. They are doing them. It ranges from 1250 all the way up to 2,000 points, which is a great idea. So yeah, if you are kind of organising an event, do let us know. We've now got a event organizer role within the Discord, and we have a way that you can actually put like a perma-fixed event on the Discord that everyone can see, which people use to link their packs, their tickets, all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't get lost in the ether of Facebook or just a general chat thread. So do hop onto the server, and if you are a tournament organizer, let myself or Johnny or anybody know really, and then we will give you the rights, and then you can post up the event. Well, that's enough about other people's events.
Now for the most important bit.
Let's focus some time on our events. So we don't have another tournament booked in yet this year. There was, I won't go into it too much. I had some personal challenges over the last couple of months, and the way we were originally going to be having a tournament on I think it's the weekend before Goonhammers at the Aegeus Bowl in Southampton, but the week that it kind of fell on was going to be difficult for me, and other things happened as well over the summer, which also kind of put paid to that. So unfortunately, we aren't going to be holding another one this year like we thought we were, but we have now put up tickets for our second in our Beachhead events. So this is Beachhead 2023. This is on the 11th and 12th of February next year. You also, as part of your ticket, get to enjoy the Beachhead convention, which is a massive convention on the south coast. You get loads of traders, so many tournaments. It was truly amazing doing the last one, and I think like the prizes that we got last year for our guys was immense. Like I think first place we gave away a warlord, and I think there was some cash in there as well. Like there was some great prizes, and we're hoping as well. We had GW support last time. We're hoping we will get some GW support, or at least the event will get some GW support this time. So if you are motivated by prizes, that's another good one. But the biggest motivator that I think you all need is we are going to mix it up again, because we don't like doing the same thing more than once, it seems. And we're going to be holding our first team tournament. So these are teams of 3, and you basically play separately, play your own individual games. Your scores are cumulative, and at the end of the weekend, there will be a winning team, and there will be team trophies and team prizes. We just wanted to kind of add in that kind of extra kind of competitive edge. I know it's not a competitive game, but it's nice to kind of like get a bit leery, isn't it? Like at a tournament, and sort of have a bit of friendly banter when it comes to these sort of things. And we had a lot of people kind of like Johnny from Battlebling was one of our biggest kind of people pushing. It's like, you need to do a team event. I was like, I don't know how it's going to work, but
he wants people to carry him. That's it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? It was a chance of winning. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it's a really good idea. It kind of is something a little bit different. It'll still have the same kind of feeling that our previous events have had with regards to, we've never had any problem at any of our events. Everybody who's come has always been great sports, some great models. I think we boast, like I can say without ego, that our tables are some of the best tables you'll see at a Titanicus tournament. And the tickets for that are going up as a team ticket. So this ticket will buy entry for 3 people for 2 days, including entry to the Beachhead convention. They are £100 per team. So obviously it is more expensive than £40 for a ticket, or £10 for a ticket for the other events, but it works out at just over £30 a head, which is cheaper than our last Beachhead.
Extremely good value for 2 days worth of convention as well,
I think
which is
so.
awesome.
I was a bit worried that obviously the immediate price tag is quite high, but like when you consider actually it's cheaper than every other event that we put together, when you look at how much the previous ones were, it does work out good value. So
and if you're having trouble finding teammates as well or anything like that, just jump on the Discord. There'll be loads of people. We could probably even set up a channel.
We have
closer to the time. Oh, have we already?
We have already. Yeah.
I've got for finding teammates.
I've got a looking for group channel.
Nice.
I just don't want people in there kind of spamming, looking for DPS or.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
need a
Rock
tank.
Lich King's just come out in WoW Classics. That is just gonna get real busy.
But yeah, no, we've had a couple of people as well. There's some people kind of looking for, even to traveling as far away as North America to come over for it, which would be amazing if we can find them a team. So don't be put off if you don't have any friends who don't have any friends who play Titanicus. I'm sure that
which is a very high possibility.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends that play Titanicus, for example.
That's a little bit harsh. Sorry, cut me deep.
I was joking. Don't you worry.
But yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it's if you can find a team. I think if I was entering it, I'd want to get 2 of my mates and theme my team somehow, and kind of come, ready to kind of have that kind of camaraderie. But even if you can't, like the guys, everybody who's turns up has been great, and I'm sure you'll find some great people to play with and split the ticket with.
As for the best team name, yes, no.
Oh, maybe we should. Maybe we should
maybe
have
a little prize.
a spot prize for best team name. I've been playing as well with changing the name of some of the. Well, actually, it was after last time, right? When we had some of our kind of tertiary prizes. You have the engine kills, best painted, and most sporting. And I picked up the trophy to give the most engine kills to the winner of that trophy. And I realised that on the front of it said best engine kills. And I was like, best.
The best engine kills.
How do you define the best engine
Anything
kill?
with a bit of flair and style, Alex.
Yeah, maybe somebody fall into somebody or kill somebody. But anyway, it was like, so after that, I was like, no, I'm going to name them something funky like Titan Slayer or something like that. We're going to mix it up with the names, I think, and yeah, so we avoid any embarrassing faux pas where the wrong trophies are ordered or they write the wrong thing on the trophy. So yeah, that is in February next year. Do check that out. Tickets are up. If you check out our Facebook page, you will find the event on our page. Tickets can be found through there. Please RSVP to the event. Rules pack is on there as well. I haven't really mentioned this. We're going to do three 1750 games. Yes, back to the old 1750 because everyone's doing 1850 now. So 1750 on day one. And then in the past, we've always found that the Sunday's a little bit more relaxed, you have a little bit more time. So we thought, let's mix it up. And on the second day, we're going to do 2 games of 2,000 points. So it'll be, 1750s on the first day, 2,000 points on the second. Same Legios, 2 lists. And just kind of bring out the big guns for the second day. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But now I've touted the stuff that you have to pay for. Let's talk free things that you can attend, shall we? Everyone likes a freebie. So when I've packed up my stand from the the autograph signing and the handshaking and the baby kissing at South Shields, we're in negotiations at the moment to organise a Maximal meetup, which is hopefully going to be at Warhammer World on the 19th of November. We are just waiting for confirmation back from Warhammer World at the moment. That's okay. They don't have any events on the day, so I'm hoping that there's nothing kind of stopping us. The idea is it's going to be just a general community meetup. And we're also going to hopefully get hold of as many tables as we can and play a massive game of AT. So we thought about, do we pair off and go play games? It's like the idea is bringing the community all kind of together and playing some games together. So we thought we'll do a big game of AT. We won't be doing like everybody has 1750 or something. We'll probably bring 1,000 points, 1,200 points of Titans. We'll put them on a table and then we'll play with them, sort of thing.
One long line.
Yeah,
like the good old days back at GW when all the kids would just be along like the long table in the middle of the store, and you'd have like.
And you always had one kid as well who used to have the the armored company from Imperial Guard, and like he'd just have like a row of like 7 or 8 tanks just in a big long line. Yeah, I used to hate those days. Oh yeah, I used to hate those days as well because it used to just set off my OCD a little bit because nobody would bring anything legal.
Yeah,
they just bring whatever they've got, and we'd say, "Oh, just bring whatever you've got," and I'd be just sat there like eye twitching at like the guy who's brought a completely illegal list.
Yeah. The old shop faux pas of it just being like, just roll the dice. What is that, like a 4? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you win.
Never let them lose an intro game. That was the mantra, wasn't it?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're giving away their secrets now. We might get
cease and desist.
Hold off.
We do like those from time to time.
Stop digging, bro. Stop digging.
Yeah. Okay, I'm stopping. So yeah, that is the especially when I'm trying to organise an event at their shop.
Yeah, you're literally talking about waiting for a reply from
at their head office.
at
Like,
their head office. Yeah, they're just gonna tell you to f off, mate. That's
yeah,
that's gonna be the
yeah.
response.
Yeah, no, I'll stop with the trade secrets now. But yeah,
Hmm.
hopefully that is the plan. We will release more details on our Facebook page and also on our Discord, kind of closer to the time. We have put together a survey on our Discord as well. We obviously we would prefer it if people could RSVP to it and let us know that they're coming, so we know how many people that we're going to have on the day, and so we can make sure that there's enough tables. Prefer it if people don't just kind of rock up on the day, because we don't want people to be disappointed as well. So yeah,
You also get to go to Warhammer World, which is, if you haven't been, literally our mecca.
it's the
So
pilgrimage.
it is. It really is. And as like jokes aside, it is actually really, really sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's
just
Bugman's as
incredible.
well, so we're going to get a table at Bugman's or something and have some lunch. Bugman's bar. And then if there's time in the end of the day, you can go around the don't call it a museum, do they? What do they call it? The
Exhibition.
exhibition. Yeah, the exhibition. Yeah. I've always really liked the exhibition there because like
I feel like we need to ensure there is time to go
Yeah.
around the exhibition, because
Yeah.
it is incredible.
Yeah, there's so much nostalgia there as well. Like, you know, I started collecting early 90s, and you know, it's great kind of walking, especially the early part of it where they've got all the old miniatures. And it's like, oh, that's that diorama from that White Dwarf that I used to have, and like seeing all the old miniatures and just thinking, oh, I remember, like, the new White Dwarfs for me don't have that kind of. I guess it's an age thing, right? Like back in the day,
Yeah.
I used to pore over those books. I used to know every page. Like I think it was White Dwarf 1. It must be like 192 or something. I think it was it had Ultramarines on the front of it, and it was when they released the Ultramarine Librarians for the first time. And I remember I just read and read and read that book, that magazine, so many times, and I've never had the same with like I mean, to be honest, my latest edition of White Dwarf turned up the other day. I've unfortunately got to the point where I pay £15 a quarter for this on my subscription. It comes through the door. The first thing I do is flick all the way through it to the back section, just see, is there anything at all to do with AT today? No, and it usually gets closed and put back under the table for a few weeks.
Whenever they arrive, you always have the best intention of just sitting down. You're like, no, you know what? I'm going to make a coffee, sit down, have a little read of it. And it is literally just turns into a picture book, really, doesn't it?
It doesn't happen when you've got kids.
No.
I've got so many other things that I need to be reading as well. Like, it's read that, or it is kind of read the Heresy rule book and learn how to play that, so we can eventually play a battle
we can
report
get that on the channel,
or something. So yeah, it's I love White Dwarf. There's always going to be something about those early days for me though. But yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you there. Do let us know if you're intending to come. I will share the survey link publicly on our Facebook page, I guess after this drops, and we'll see if any more people who aren't on Discord also want to turn up. We kind of touched upon bat reps there. Should we just let people know what's going on that front? Because people have probably noticed that it's all been a little bit quiet.
It has been very frustrating, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, don't worry, like the bat reps are still happening. Kind of as I alluded to earlier on, I had like a bit of bad news in my personal life, which meant that over the past sort of 6 weeks to 2 months, basically ever since after the tournament, we had intended to get the next bat reps recorded. We couldn't quite get our calendars to align, and then this thing happened, and it basically just meant that we couldn't do anything for about 6 weeks. We are planning on doing that again. Again, it is a case of getting our calendars to align. The podcasts are our meat and potatoes. You know, you guys know us for the podcasts. We've been doing the podcasts the longest. This was our priority. So we wanted to make sure we kept the podcast kind of running and coming as often as we could. It has meant though that the bat reps, we won't be recording the next one probably until around about the 15th of October. So there won't be any new bat reps until probably towards the end of October. I hope people understand that it's not for want of doing it. It was, unfortunately, life has a way of kind of kicking you in the nuts every now and again, and that was something which had to slide for a while until we could kind of get back together and sort it out.
Absolutely. And they're obviously we absolutely love doing them, but they are 12-hour days. If we're recording two, and
we're gonna let you out of the goblin cave, aren't we?
Oh yeah, I will be. I'll be coming on to play. And yeah, we will see how that goes.
Well, you've still got a few weeks to actually read and learn the rules. So
that is very rude, but possibly quite true. We'll have some practice games or entoyment or something.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And it will be featuring, at least one of them will be featuring the Legio that we're going to be talking about today.
Hopefully both, but probably just one.
I should probably find a way that if I can get in a maybe we do. I don't really want to because it's the worst possible pairing, but Vulpa versus Audax would at least allow me to show off the direwolf as well, because we still haven't had a bat rep with the direwolf.
And I could bring in the big boy iconoclast.
No thanks.
As well. No, yeah. And it's stepping on a warhound in its pose as well. And I haven't painted the warhound yet, so I'm going to paint it into Audax, and that means you have to play it.
Thank you. I mean, that is two traitor legios. Although I suppose I could use them as loyalists.
Well, I mean, Vulpa happily fight anyone.
They don't care, do they?
They don't care.
Indiscriminate.
Corn does not care from whence the blood flow, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I guess on the subject of traitor legios, I know a lot of people as well have been asking, can we do a traitor legios ranked episode similar to like we did the loyalist one last year. Little bit of good news. I'm not sure when it's coming. Hopefully the next episode. It might be depending again on how schedules line up. But we are hoping to bring you that episode. I have managed to persuade Ben of Maximal Fire Heritage to cast his eyes and kind of give us his opinions on that. So I'm hoping that we might be able to persuade Ben to come on for an episode and kind of like talk us through the traitor legios ranked. I wanted to involve Ben in this. I know he's been out of AT for a little while, but I wanted to make sure that he was involved because he was so integral to the creation of the first one that I also wanted to make sure that the traitor legios had the same lens that we were kind of looking through those legios with, so there would be no disparity between kind of like the considerations that we made for loyalists compared to traitors. So do bear with us on that one. I know it's something that a lot of you want. We want to do it as well. Hopefully it'll be coming not too far in the future. We shall see.
Oh yeah. And Vulpa will be at the top of the ranking list.
Yeah, sure.
As it should be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We'll see how the bat rep goes, yeah?
Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah, but that's not good. I mean, I'm a terrible Titanicus player, so that's really not going to be any kind of indication as to whether or not it's any good. What have you been doing hobby-wise anyway over the last...
Oh, that's a real personal question, Alex.
So nothing?
Yeah, no. No. I've been... Yeah, it's been hard, right? It's just... I think both of our lives at the moment are just filled with busyness and the inability to, or the energy to hobby. That being said, we've been doing I've been doing a couple of birthday presents for people. That's my trick.
That's good.
Buy someone a model and paint it up for them. I get to enjoy painting the model, and also it doubles up as a birthday gift, right?
It's a very good idea. And I did that for my brother's Christmas present once. It's obviously took, there was a lot of love poured into that miniature, and also they get something nice at the end of it.
I think that's it as well. It is commissioned painting without worrying about someone paying you for it. You know what I mean? You want to do more. You want to do better. You want to
or
try new
even
techniques.
really worrying if they think it's shit or not, because it's a present.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So even if
Just
it's the
spray
most
it if you don't like it, mate. Like,
yeah, if it's the most god awfully painted thing ever and you completely messed it up, then they can't give it back because it's a present. That'd be rude.
Yeah. A little bit of Necromunda. Quite a lot of 10mm Warhammer Fantasy.
A Warmaster.
No, specifically playing Warhammer Fantasy battles with 10mm models.
But not the Warmaster rule, because
Not the Warmaster rules, no.
No. Interesting.
Just a smaller version. A little project, one of my friends. And Titanicus wise, so the Iconoclast, we're almost there. Until your boy dropped it, and the box containing every single armor panel that was unstuck to the Titan, including the tiny little toe panels, which comically catapulted the box and its contents across the hobby room.
Oh no.
I thought I got all of it. Was walking down the stairs 2 days later, stepped on something hard, looked at it. It was the partly dog-chewed armor panel of, I think it's like the top right shoulder or something for it. Thankfully, we have a Chihuahua now, so the teeth are very small, and it actually looks pretty decent as battle damage.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
If you want to weather your stuff, give it to your dog. Give it to your small dog.
Yeah, don't sue us when it chokes on the pieces, but yeah, let's hope I find the rest of the pieces. I'm assuming I've got all of them, but I might be hosing down some poos on the walk if there are any bits missing.
Well, I can totally appreciate where you're coming from there, because obviously my hobby went a bit stale over the last couple of months, but it was reinvigorated by the big bad boy, the Warbreaker.
Yeah, your funk.
Yeah, I've. If you're on the YouTube channel,
don't drop it.
No, well, that's going to be my next thing. I've started painting some of the armor panels and stuff. It is. I reckon that there is as many armor panels in the cathedral as the entire Warmaster, who is down here. If you're on the YouTube channel, and is about half the size of the Warbreaker. It makes the Warmaster look small. So yeah, I'm a little bit daunted by the amount of trim, considering I paint trim in a ridiculous method which takes hours. But it was really good for getting me back into the hobby. I did drop it. Well, I dropped the arm because I magnetized the arm yesterday. That was very nearly a very expensive mistake. Obviously, if you are working with 3D printed resin, it can be quite brittle. And I dropped it, and there's like let me see. There's like little canisters on the side, like you see on most of the weapons. You know, like on the plasmas, there's like little canisters, like energy cells. And one of the arms dropped off, hit the ground, and then there was just like rain falling of these canisters, which had luckily very cleanly broke, but just exploded in this room. And as you can see, I'm not the most tidy of people, and I spent hours searching for these missing canisters. I did find them all. I did send an SOS text to Johnny saying, "Can you bring me some of these? I'm really sorry to ask." But luckily, I did find them all. So panic and crisis averted. It's all good. But going up to this event in South Shields as well has kind of has sort of forced me to kind of do some funky stuff again, start painting again, get some things. I'm taking my Gryphonicus with me. The big boy's going to be Gryphonicus, so that kind of again was like got me excited for Gryphonicus again. So I'm doing little things like I'm currently finishing painting up some of my terminal plates for my Titans. These are the ones that you can get from Battlebling. Very, very cool. I believe they do like a terminal set where you can get like, I think think it's 5 terminals and 5 nameplates to match as part of their bundle packs. So yeah, it's been nice. They've been sat there waiting for me to do something with them for probably the best part. Well, I think I got them at Beachhead, so like over 6 months. So it's good to kind of. I know I'm not painting Heresy, which is what we said we were going to do, but at least I'm clearing some other backlog.
We were so excited. We were so excited when Heresy was about to come out, and we've let ourselves down.
It's just a lot of models, and I think both of us as well.
Space Marines.
We were starting from scratch as well, so it wasn't like we could just jump straight in. There's going to be I think we were quite ambitious to think we'd have a bat rep sorted in like the first month.
Had a plan to do the bat rep like the weekend after a release and just bash them out in the week, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't happen that way.
Not happening.
But we will do it. I do want to do it. I really want to do it. So, obviously talking a lot about the War Master, I think this is probably a great point to kind of pause our conversation here, Johnny, and introduce Chris from Tabletop Standard, and we will just talk for the next segment of this show about the design process and the creation of the rules for the Warbreaker. So, yeah, here it is next.
Take it away.
So, now I am joined by Chris from Tabletop Standard. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, mate. I'm very well, thank you. I'm tired, but I'm good. You good?
Yes, I'm not bad. Thank you very much. So, you're on here with a purpose tonight. Hopefully, our listeners have kind of like tuned into your YouTube channel and they have seen a little sneak peek that you dropped earlier on. Well, it'll probably be last week by the time that this came out with the new rules for the Warbreaker. And you mentioned as part of that video that there was a bit of a discussion to kind of be had around kind of why we did what we did. So for those of you who don't know, myself and Chris were invited by Battlebling to design a rule set for their incredible Warbreaker model, not an Imperator. Definitely not an Imperator from an IP perspective. It's completely different. It's its own thing. It's a Warbreaker, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I have hinted at Imperatrix.
Imperatrix, like it. Is that like the female version of it? I don't know my Latin very well.
Empress. Yeah, Empress class.
Oh, that'll work, yeah. So yeah, they obviously had their 24-hour sale. I know, speaking to Johnny, he was quite concerned about like it coming across as a bit of a money grab, but then it turns out that the amount of time that it takes Battlebling to actually physically print these things, they had to restrict the sales of the models because they didn't know how many they were going to sell, if they were only going to sell a few or if they were going to sell a lot, and what they didn't want to do is overcommit, and obviously in that end they get themselves in a position where all they're doing is Warbreakers and they're not able to keep on top of their other stock. So me and Chris were invited to help them out and design a rule set essentially for this amazing model. Little bit shorter than I guess Games Workshop have with their play testing window, would you say, Chris?
Was it 2 weeks?
I think we had maybe a little bit longer. I think it was the beginning of August, wasn't it? So
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think we had about a month. But
okay.
But I mean, you've got to remember that probably the first at least week to 10 days of that was coming up with the ideas before any playtesting started.
Yeah. What version were we on before I actually put it on the table? Quite high, wasn't it?
6, was it?
6 or 7, yeah.
It was something like that, yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, so yeah, we very much kind of approached this, and if you disagree with that, this is how I approached it from anyway, Chris. If you were like completely different to this, like no, I'll just flying by the seat of my pants, then you know say. But from my perspective, and I think I can say for both of us, we wanted this to be something which was more than just a display model, because it was £295. It's an expensive model. I mean, of course, people pay more than that on Titans, right? Which don't do anything. Some people play with them, obviously, but a lot of people just buy them to have a nice thing in their display cabinet. But we wanted to bring this to the table and for it to actually see play kind of, I wouldn't say in like normal sized games, but like in what would be considered, I guess, normal large scale games rather than the truly massive games.
Yeah. Originally when we pointed this thing, we had it in our mind at around the sort of 2000 mark, and then it quickly became apparent that it might have been too much. So in the end, we decided that this would be good if we could fit it in minimum game size of around 3000 points. That way you can have a pickup game, if you like. You think most people are probably going to play open engine war. You're looking at 4 to 5, six turns. So you're looking at 5 turns on average. What can you do with this thing in a 5-turn game? Like a 4x4 table is probably pushing it. 6x4 is better. So that was kind of the parameters of where we wanted this to sit, I guess. Obviously, bigger games, narrative games, you can go bonkers. But that was kind of the starting point, I think.
Yeah, and 3000. I mean, I played a 3000 point game down the club last night. Well, last week. So like it is kind of like that sort of normal size large game, and I totally agree. I mean, because the club's tables that we play at, they only have 6x4s, so we had to play on a 6x4 but still have room for our terminals. I know you'd probably say pick up an app, right, and use your app instead, but we like our terminals anyway. But we played that 3000 point on just over a 4-foot wide board, and it was a big no-no. And when you sort of look at the stats of what we've kind of put against this Titan, I think it quickly becomes obvious that a 4-foot table is just not big enough to really kind of get the most out of it, and also when you consider some of the ranges and short ranges involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably say we've gone on the softer side of what this thing should maybe be, but I don't think that's a bad place to start. I think with this, I think there's certain things that I think it needs to be familiar. We could have gone way out and just created loads of rules out of left field and gone, wow, this is a Warbreaker, it's crazy. But I don't think that was a good idea. So we've gone for things that people find familiar, fitting into that 5 turns, pickup games. And with that being, that sort of 5-turn games, you don't want something on the table that you can't kill in 5 turns. If it doesn't die ever, it's going to be boring to play with, and it's going to be boring to play against. So, hey, no one's forcing anyone to use these rules. If you want it to have, I think they're supposed to have 12 void shields, aren't they? If you want it to have 12 or 20 void shields and a reactor track as long as your arm, there's nothing stopping you doing that. This is literally, if you just want to, these terminals are being made so you can print them off. So you can just grab a terminal, grab your Warbreaker, play a game with your mates.
And I think as well, I mean, like we kind of alluded to at the start, we had a very compressed time to kind of come up with the rule set for this, get some play testing in, and get it on the table. So, like you say, we did use some familiar things. We used the War Master essentially as a base for this thing, but we approached it from the start very much with the idea of this being a kind of living rule set. We weren't. And we're not shackled, but like GW are, with printing physical terminals and shipping them in boxes, and the points being written on it. For instance, like we were approaching this from the point of view that the rule set will be available online. These are rules kind of that we thought was fun to kind of get this thing started. And it may well be that, when we play more games with it, I know you and I have talked about getting a big old game with 2 of these things on the table. Maybe then more things will come up and the rules will kind of expand. And I think as well that we kind of have a little bit of time, because there's not going to be many of these in the field quickly. I know that it's going to take a few probably a month plus, I think, probably maybe even longer than that for Johnny to ship all of them, because I know how many he sold, and it's going to take them a while. So I think that by the time that people kind of have these in their hands, we may have tweaked the rule set again. This is kind of like our starting jumping off point. And to your point, we could have gone absolutely crazy with this thing. And like you say, it needed to be playable, and it needed to be fun for both sides. And we didn't want to kind of go in too heavy. We would rather people think and say, "Oh, it's a good fun Titan, but it's a bit cheap for what it does, or it's a bit underpowered from what it is." Then people kind of we essentially end up in a situation where we have an Acastus problem again, and people kind of rail against it, right?
Yeah. So in the games I played with it, it died in all of them, but the very last one I let it die. And when you look at various bits of lore and stuff, essentially once you get past void shields, you're hitting metal. And Titans don't just have small arms. All Titans are carrying Titan grade weaponry. If you watch Lutin's video on the volcano cannon, that's a standard volcano cannon that's on a shadow sword tank. This stuff is designed to destroy. So yeah, once the shields are down, it should take damage. And then in Moloch, I think an Imperator was taken down by House Divine Knights.
He kind of gets Rochambeau, doesn't he? By the
spoiler alert, sorry. But
oh yeah, I'll put a big old spoiler thing in front of that.
Yeah, sorry about that. But do you know what I mean? Engines die. Anyone that's there's a book called Titan Death, and guess what happens? That's all classes of Titan. Once they go at each other, they go down. So it doesn't matter how big it is.
I don't think we need to worry about spoilers, actually, when you consider that Vengeful Spirit was released probably like plus 5 years ago, right? If you haven't read it by now, yeah, sorry, but like it's not new. It's not like it's a new book.
I will say that the best thing about this is the scale 15 with a large reactor. When it goes bang, it's brilliant. So I mixed up my play testing between Loyalist and Traitor. And when I played as a Loyalist, I took the stratagem where you increase your chances of going Nova. You roll a d6.
Yeah. It's like the 1 to 4. It's like magazine debt, isn't it?
Yeah, and then like 5 or 6, it's cap meltdown, whatever.
And so
it was brilliant.
So just looking at the obviously I've got the PDF of the rules off the side. So it's got 9 reactor holes. So with your meltdown, is it D3 plus reactor holes in size?
Yeah, I think so. So it's 12-inch blast at strength 15.
Yeah.
And then the mag debt is going to be the strength for the highest weapon, which is 12. So
yeah, like you say, it needed to be brutal when this sort of thing happens, but there is like the trade-off at the scale of 15, of course. You just have to see the model, and it becomes obvious that there's quite a few carapace weapons in there. There's a lot of carapace weapons, and I think that we wanted to make sure that when we were designing the rules, we were keeping the rules kind of feeling like they should be on the model. So, for instance, there isn't much play left or right with the way that the model is designed. So we were like, well, it has a corridor arc then, and because of the corridor arc and the fact that it's a carapace weapon, then we've got that 15 inches of scale, where it can't shoot anything smaller than itself. And let's be honest, the only thing that's not smaller than itself is another Warbreaker. I'm very interested to see 2 of these just going at each other from like 10 inches away or something. But so yeah, there was it was what I really liked about this whole design process was we took those familiar elements. We did try to keep it kind of in theme, I guess, and it to feel like existing Titans do, but we kind of souped it up to the max, and we got to play around with essentially just come up with a couple of fun little ideas and new rules that would apply specifically to this Titan. So should we talk about some of the special rules that we've kind of given to it? So let's start with like the Grandmaster rule. So I think the special rules really are where it kind of, you look at the weapons and stuff, like you say, they are more powerful than anything that's in the game, but they're not stupidly more powerful. They like 1 or 2 points, an extra dice or something here and there than a suzerain, for instance, as an example. But we wanted to give it loads of funky rules which kind of reflected this, what we thought was like the spirit of the Titan and what it represented on the tabletop, and for it to do more than just be a Titan that you use to shoot things until they die.
On the same, we didn't want too many rules, so you had like just reams and reams and reams of rules for like one engine. So it was finding that balance of having rules but not too many rules.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the thing that we both thought from the beginning was that you would obviously, well, for a start, like this was actually put in towards the end, where I think we decided that how we were going to class this as a Titan. We went for this super auxiliary Titan rule, which means you have to take a full mana pool of at least 5 Titans to take it. But the Grandmaster rule, I guess, goes quite nicely into this, in that why would the Princeps of one of the most potent god engines in the known universe be subservient to a Reaver Princeps or a Warhound? Yeah. So we came up with this idea of the Grandmaster, and essentially it adds +2 to its order command checks, so just like a normal Princeps. But it also effectively counts as being like almost like a mana pool in itself, and it is able to take its own Princeps trait separate. So you've still got your Princeps within the mana pool. He still operates as he is, but this guy is like the big cojones, right? He is the gaffer, and so it made sense that he would have his own tricks to play. I mean, on Gryphonicus, for instance, I'm really looking forward to reckless mavericking this guy and getting a second activation. But yeah, and not only that, but we wanted to, it's an inspiring Titan. We wanted within that Grandmaster rule to kind of give it like a little bit of a buff, so like an area of effect. And with that, you basically everybody gets to make +1 to command rolls within 8 inches, and that's all command rolls, isn't it? It's not just orders.
Yeah. So originally this rule was called mana pool of 1, and then we swapped it out for Grandmaster just to make it a bit clearer, really. So yeah, it just shows that it's the head honcho and it's perfectly capable of, if you like, looking after itself. But let's admit it, all Titans need Titan support. So
absolutely. I quite like with this as well, when with the +1 to command rolls, not just orders. I like the kind of the sense of narrative that gives as well, because you can kind of almost imagine, within the Legio, all these venerable Titans, and then there's this one, like the oldest of the old, the most potent of the potent, and the other machine spirits kind of around it being almost a little bit cowed by the presence of this embodiment of the Omnisire, and so behaving a little bit more, less likely to kind of go off on one.
Yeah, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It was a simple thing to add, but I think it needed to be there.
Yeah. And then I mean the rest. I think the only other, there was a couple which are kind of quite what we thought were like realistic, sensible things to add. So like we thought that this thing's bristling with guns. The Ardex defense guns needed a boost. They needed to be
this was a
more.
real tricky one. Was it D6? Was it 3D3? Was it 2D6? Because when you look at it, it is bristling with cannon. So it was kind of a suck it and see. So at this time we've settled for 2D3. and we'll take it from there. What will be interesting is when people get theirs, or even from now, if people just want to use a proxy and excuse me, start actually playing with these rules and actually sending some feedback. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, something
I don't use Ardex defense guns anyway, do I? So
I just forget, and then the one time that I remember, I realise I'm running Bellator Magno, and he doesn't have Ardex, so I just forget about it. But the other thing we looked at with this, I'm still keen. Depending on how it plays, this might make a return. But we talked about 360-degree Ardex as well, didn't we? Rather than just front and back, and so there was kind of lots of things we could do.
Yeah, but now, so if you've been watching my rubbish, I've been using a 200mm round base, and the reason for that is the 200mm wide is pretty much for that corridor, but round bases are easy to buy. We've just got our hands on some 200. You can see it down there, 200 by I think 155 or whatever they are ovals, and I'm are these going to become available? I don't want to say this or no yet.
I believe Tarot from Tarot Model Maker is selling them. I don't know if they're going to be available to Battlebling, basically, because I know that they have a little bit of a relationship. So it may well be that they...
Oval is much better. I think with an oval, you can keep the Ardex to the front and rear because obviously the sides are that much smaller. And with the oval as well, you're likely to you can have collision damage now when this thing has to turn. So now I've been hammering the 200 wide. If you can get hold of those ovals, that will be the sweet spot.
Absolutely, yeah. Or cut your own, I guess. I mean, I think with all the large Titans, the ovals always were the preferred design for us. But like you say, the only place I could find a place that did a 200mm resin base, but it was based in America. It was about £18 just for the base, and then when I came to actually buy it, 'cause I thought, I'll just suck it up. They weren't available. So
I paid 90p for my round base and whatever postage was. I wanted it to be a set of rules for something that was easily accessible for everyone. So, but the 200mm wide, I'm definitely sticking with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's about right. We looked at the 170, didn't we? And it just clipped the edges of the feet. It just wasn't big enough. But
not with so much firepower on the roof. It needs that width to be a threat. That's quite that's an 8-inch corridor you've got to get out of that firing arc, which is quite a long way.
And of course, with an oval base as well, your actual fire arc is slightly wider, I believe, than what you would get normally. So they made a lot of sense with that.
But if you've got a round or you're going for round, then the rules will work. It's fine.
Yeah, one of the big decisions, one of the big considerations for me as well is why I wanted it, because I didn't want to lose the collision damage potential from this thing. It didn't make sense that something this big couldn't collide. However, there is, again, to reflect its mass, we put in another rule, which in most cases is going to make it fairly sturdy. And we were like, this thing is massive, it's going to shrug off most things, right? So we created this rule called inexorable. And essentially that was a rule to prevent forced movement. So it's quite slow as a Titan, isn't it? 3-5. So we didn't want it getting quaked to death and basically moving 1.5 inches a turn or 2.5 inches a turn. So no penalties from difficult terrain or quake. We also figured that, or thought that it shouldn't ever really take concussion and be moved by the concussion. It should just be able to just weather this storm of hits against it. And something I've actually been, maybe you can clarify on this, because this was a later add-on. We said it's not affected by Ursus Claws. I assume that's just the forced movement caused by Ursus Claws rather than the damage.
The spin, the rotation, it's the special rule of the Ursus Claw. Part of me was thinking, maybe it should be affected if it's hit by 4 or 5 or 3, like multiples. But I just thought then you're starting to get rule on rule, and it just becomes stacked. And I just thought, no, just no Ursus claws. It's too big. It can just pull the lines. You actually imagine it taking a step and actually just dragging the warhounds along with it. So,
but I guess if you caused, because the way Ursus claws work, though, if you cause enough damage to the legs, it would still collapse the Titan. Essentially, it just wouldn't. You're just not pulling it around.
Yeah. So doing the damage, but not the, was it 90 degrees?
Yeah, you turn it 90 degrees in one direction or another.
Now, it just spit a bit much.
Yeah.
So.
But there is still other opportunities that there is within the game that you can be forced, let's just say, to make a turn. And with a round base, that wasn't gonna. No collision was going to happen there. But with the oval, they put that back in. So, for instance, if you are a corrupted Titan and you are forced to turn and charge at the nearest person, it's a forced turn maneuver. So sorry, no, the one where you maybe that's a bad example. When you die, let's go with the easy example, shall we? When you die, if it's one of the ones which is you stagger around and then fall over, you have no choice. In the turn, you will collide with something, and then you'll fall over, because you can't voluntarily take collision hits. But if you're forced to take a collision hit, the example I was thinking of with the mutation with the awakened entity was the one where you're forced to retreat, and you can actually kind of collide with somebody behind you, because it's like retreat 3 inches, or I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. It's the fearful awakened entity. But yeah, so there's still options there, right? And when you do, you're going to take D6 strength 15 hits, so you don't really want to be colliding. But it seemed right that it should impact the battlefield like that.
Yeah, oval is gold standard. If we can get those out, then that'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last special rule that we came up with was the majority of the weapons that we came up with or we designed. If you just have to look at the model, it's got the 2 arms, and then everything else is up top. And we didn't want, because of scale 15 and carapace, it basically would negate all but 2 of its weapons, albeit very powerful weapons, for most of the game in a normal game, because most of the game happens between 12 and 20 inches, in my experience anyway. And so we wanted to put in this rule, which is it's called Mortar, and it's a weapon trait which is applied to the fissure bombards. Is that the right one?
Yeah. So all the weapon names were given to us. So when we get to that, that's where they came from. So yeah, weapon traits. That's fission bombards. So they're like the 2 big cannons right in the middle of the main cathedral, and since it's a mortar, basically they can elevate those guns and they can lob those shells up. Basically, it just enables you to fire within your scale. So now you've got your 2 arms, and you've got these 2 5-inch templates. So if they hit, that's two hits per template. That's another 4 potential hits, and then they've got like quake and barrage and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, we kind of thought of these to be sort of like howitzers, didn't we? The way that they would fire up and down. So it should be able to kind of fire within you. I know we talked about kind of applying negatives and stuff to that when you're doing it within scale. At the moment, we've kind of edged on the side of caution. We haven't applied anything there, but
already got a -1 at short range, which is 24. So
right.
If you start going more, then it becomes sort of non-existent. Then you're looking at those six to hit, and it's just like. So we'll see how it goes at -1.
Yeah. So those were the kind of like the rules that we created, I guess. At least the sort of special rule. We'll come to a couple of other bits and pieces. We really wanted to kind of ramp up the survivability without going nuts. So as a rule of thumb, I think we added 1 pip to both the plasma reactor, the void shield. Did we add an extra pip to the damage track, the normal damage tracks?
So we worked off the War Master, and I know it is considerably smaller, but we've gone one more than a War Master on the plasma reactor and the void shield. And the reason for this is you pick up games, your 5 turns, if it's not getting hot and it's not losing voids, it's going to be boring. So it's kind of in a safety space. You can still stick this thing next to a void shield relay and re-roll all your void saves. There are ways of, boosting this thing, like any engine. The damage tracks, they're actually on the main track, they're actually 2 longer. I played games with it shorter and longer, and it just felt right. By the game I played, I hadn't changed anything from version sort of 8 to 9 really. So once I got to that point, I was happy. And then it's got 5 points of critical damage. Again, we didn't want to just start picking up loads of stuff. 5 points of critical damage, and the first point is just no effect. You've just made a great big hole. So what it's doing, it's not affecting your Warbreaker, but affects that rules that affect Titans with critical damage, that will come into play. So
Yeah.
it was
and
a wing and a prayer.
And I know from experience with playing the with the War Master, the shields are the biggest defense because they are very hard to chew through, right? And it's got a great big reactor, just push. But once you get past the void shields, like they can die quite quickly, especially if you get 4 crits or something. All of a sudden, it just goes all the way up. It's to one shot this, you really need to be doing 6 crits to it.
Yeah, I mean, in games, it wasn't dying in the first 2 turns; it was dying in the last turns of the game. And I'll tell you now, things. It came up against 3 Exterminus warlords, and they had a suzerain War Master in their list, and it took. It one-shotted one of the warlords. It can do that. And then the other 2 warlords and the suzerains is what brought it down. That's a lot of power. That's what's it? War Master's about $1,000, isn't it? $1,000 for 2. That's 2,000 points to bring this thing in at 1,475 points with the armor weapon. So it over 5 turns or whatever it was. So that just felt right to me whilst playing the game.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably going to be a few people who kind of get a little bit concerned about one-shotting a warlord, but that's all of its weapons, right? To take out one warlord, and you consider that this thing is the same price as 3 warlords. It's not going to do that every turn. It's also, you've got to have some pretty lucky/unlucky dice to do that. And like I say, it's the best part of 1,500 points. You've only got 5 turns in the game. You should be able to take out something of a warlord scale, certainly within 1.5 turns, if not, be able to one shot.
So a lot of the time as well, it would obviously it's hitting you with so many saves that it's either dropping the shields and then you're saving your plasma gun for last and you're doing crits, or warlords were just getting pushed so hard for re-rolling those ones. They were getting hot, they were overheating. So if you're not taking them out by Titan death, they're overloading themselves just not to die. So
absolutely,
either way, it was actually thoroughly enjoyed.
But essentially, what you're saying is that there was no bad feels there. Everybody seemed to have a lot of good fun, and I don't really want to spend this time kind of talking over the stats and the points and all that kind of stuff because you've already done a great job of kind of going through that on your video. And if people want to sort of see the sort of blow by blow of the weapons and of the the structure points, all of those other decisions, you can check out Chris's video on Tabletop Standard, and there's literally that blow by blow account. I guess just before we kind of finished up today, I just wanted to again just talk over some of the kind of the other sort of funky rules and ideas that we came up with, rather than necessarily the weapons, which are brutal, right? The plasma is a suzerain taken to the max, with an optional blast, which is amazing in my opinion.
That was good fun.
Yeah, and then the I shouldn't call it the suzerain. It's the Warbreaker plasma eclipse battery. Yeah, and then the laser.
Hitting a banner of knights with 2 5-inch strength 14 blasts was brilliant.
That's going to ruin anybody's day, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. And then like the laser plasma annihilator, which is a laser which has again just been up to the max. You know, just it's basically a laser blaster without the negatives, and with rending and strength 10. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I was quite cautious not to be going at strength 15, 16s on everything. Just again, probably just dialed it down enough. And then yeah, you'll just have to tell us what you think when you start playing games, really.
Well, I mean, I think strength 10 with rending means that if you roll that 6, you're getting a minimum of 17, which is critting anything in the game. That makes sense to me. And like you say, I think, you know, we've seen it with the suzerains on the War Master. You know, you can very easily be rolling D10s with strength. What was it that I got it from? I got it up to, is it strength 11 basic, isn't it? With maximal fire, then add in overcharged cannon as a stratagem and get it up to strength 15. And yeah, so you know, there's other silly things in there, but you know, I think we've got the balance right on this. But I just wanted to touch upon the ancillary reactors, and also like our little kind of bonus stratagem.
Yeah, there is in my mind, I am wondering, should it have 2 ancillary slots, or will that be too much? I don't know, is the answer. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But part of me is thinking, oh, should it have 2? It's so big. But
Well, I guess another option is that there's always that special rule section of a terminal. Perhaps we can, you know, something like Warhorn could be something that you get all the time, and then you get another thing, but you again only get it once per game.
maybe make it a special rule. It was just to add something to the ancillary, so you have, rather than just having all the rules, you have to have a choice. I think that was the main thing. So yeah, Warhorn. So it's one go. Give it a blast. There's not enough Warhorns in this game, is there?
No.
So give it a blast, and then all the units, and the way I think I'm going to play this is the ones that are within 15 inches when it happens. So when the War Master moves, it doesn't affect ones that become in range. It's the ones that within 15 inches when it sounds the horn have -2 to all command checks for the rest of the round. Initially, this was everything on the table, all enemy units on the table, but we thought it was a bit much when we actually played it. So just dropped it into 15 inches, the scale.
So is this a play at any time in the strategy phase, or would it be something you do in the stratagem phase? I suppose you'd want to do it before orders, right?
Well, it's going to need an FAQ, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the way the strategy phase works is it would be when it's your activation, I think, because then you have that advantage of being first player to maybe get something off before the horn sound. Then when it's your turn, give it a blast.
So is that maybe play at the beginning of the strategy phase, but you would play it when it's your activation?
Yeah, maybe.
That makes sense to me, I think, you know, because you want it to, the whole point of this is to affect orders.
Yeah, so what you're looking at, I mean, the obvious use for this is if you've got sort of knights within your perimeter and you want to sort of, you know they're going to go for a charge, you want to try and reduce that command roll. Yeah, it's a defense, isn't it, against anything that's, you know, it doesn't have to be knights, it could be a reaver that gets that charge. So it's a defense mechanism to, you know, shake them up a bit.
Yeah. And then I guess
if they're first player, then they'll.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, just the last thing that I wanted to touch upon was we really wanted to, you know, you remember the old Epic model, right? You know, they had, you know, the well, in the lore as well, they had like entire units of Secretary.
There is a Secretary stratagem, isn't there? So
yeah, which would deploy from the feet and stuff. And obviously the model by Danny Van Dyke also has the kind of doors in the feet. So we wanted to kind of give it something like that, and Battlebling's all about hailing back to the 80s, and like
Yeah, John was really he messaged me and he really wanted something with the legs. So this is where we're at. Yeah, Titan Guard infantry. I mean, bear in mind that we will be using it on our channel for Epic 30k. So it's gonna have a dual. Oh yeah, it's gonna have a dual role. Which is great for us. We can use it for AT, and we'll be back repping it in Epic as well.
fantastic.
So Titan Guard. So this could have been something that could have just been a rule, but we opted for making it a stratagem, because then that way you haven't got to have the models, and you don't always have to use it. So we thought it was the best way of incorporating the legs and the model, and then the fact that it's optional, we haven't got to go, oh, now I've got to get like 6 stands of infantry. You can play with your Warbreaker without this rule. So that's why it's a stratagem.
And this is locked to the Warbreaker, so you can't take the stratagem unless you have a Warbreaker to deploy from.
Yeah, this is only going to work on the Warbreaker. So it's an asset, but they are not deployed at the beginning of the game like assets in deployment. They are deployed inside. So they start the game inside your Warbreaker. During the combat phase, these guys are released, and you deploy them within 3 inches of the Warbreaker. They have a 2-inch coherency. It's 6 stands. We're recommending 25mm rounds. I'll actually just put 25mm, but 25mm rounds, you can get them Vanguard or whatever. They do great infantry as well, and they're basically a little unit. They fire straight away, and they got these strength 4 heavy weapons, so they can strip shields and do damage. And then once they're deployed, they're an independent unit, so they will have a stats. They should have a terminal coming as well, just the same as a knight terminal. They'll work like knights, except they're scale 0, they've got no armor, and they're very easy to kill once they're out because they're infantry.
So I guess because these are scale 0, they can't hold objectives.
No, I wouldn't. No, no. Again, that's all these things that you just don't think about.
That just came up in my mind, but most of the objective-based games are like total the number of the scale points within X of a.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's not, even without thinking about it, they're not going to affect it. So.
Yeah. But I mean, another obvious kind of use for these guys is you see that you're about to get charged. There's a charge coming, and they do what they're supposed to do, right? You would play it in the stratagem phase. They would deploy, and you would put them as a screen to prevent a charge.
These are actually deployed in the combat phase.
Oh, apologies. Right, okay.
Yeah, so if you want to block a charge, so knights, Titans can move over these. Units of knights can't. So if you want to block that charge, you're going to have to get them out the turn before.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I did it in the combat phase because I wanted them to be able to literally deploy and then use their weapons, rather than deploy, die, yeah, and not actually get to use them. So it just felt better that they deploy in the combat phase. They deploy, they can fire their weapons to do some shield stripping or whatever, and then they're independent.
And I guess like when they do deploy, I mean, with there being 6 stands, it's kind of somewhere between the same firepower as an Apocalypse missile launcher or a Vulcan mega bolter without the special rules.
Yeah, so it's 1 attack per stand. There's a heavy weapons team in each stand. Strength 4, so they are useful. Their weapon skill and ballistic skill, I think, is slightly better than Titan Hunter infantry, and I've done that because Titan Hunter infantry come back every turn.
Yeah.
As well, once these guys are dead, they're dead. So
yeah,
it's just something a bit fun. I have used them in the games. I'm looking forward to actually making the stands to go with the model. Hobbyists hopefully will enjoy this part of it.
I have had a word with John as well at Battlebling, and I've said, like, this would make a really good sort of second release or something. So I don't know if he's working on any of that, but like,
cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? There might be some Battlebling official Titan Guard infantry. But there's loads of options as well, isn't there, from people like Vanguard? Do some excellent models you can use.
Yeah, they do a really nice range of Mechanicum-ish style
Yeah.
infantry. So, that's not a bad place to start.
Absolutely. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate you joining me tonight to kind of talk through this. Like I say, if you want to have a look at more of the specific rule set, do head over to Tabletop Standard and check out the video that he posted around the Warbreaker rules. Hopefully that's kind of given you... I know there was a few people who kind of came back after that video kind of like questioning the thought process. This is why we wanted to do this, and if you do have any more questions, you can obviously hit me or Chris up in our respective YouTube channels. If you're on the Maximal Fire Discord, I reside there pretty much permanently as well, so you can ping us something on there. But these will become available again in the future. I have it on fairly good authority. It might not be until after Christmas. I know that this was never planned to be like a single release. There's just been a lot of there's a lot of logistics involved in this. There's a lot of people asking kind of like, oh, why don't you cast it, and all of this sort of questions. And I know Johnny had to fill a lot of answers of why was it so expensive, blah 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 blah. It actually turned out that casting it was going to be more expensive. So in the volumes that they were obviously going to be selling in, and so the 3D printing was what they kind of knew. And although it's quite a labour of love to get all the parts out, it meant that he could keep the costs down to where it was. But I think it's kind of proven to Battlebling that there is a market for these kind of 3D printed Titans. So I'm hoping we might see a few additional, maybe smaller scale ones, and maybe you and I will be having this conversation again with something else in the future.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. So ours were prototypes. The official ones are going to have, 10x3 magnet slots in the arms.
Good point. Forgot about that.
So more arms are coming.
So I've got 1 mil by 10 mil, 15 mil magnets on the top of that, but we didn't get any pre-drilled stuff. So you guys will. Yeah. We'll definitely be doing some more weapon options again. I'd like to see a big ass flail or something like that.
I don't know why, but I want a massive flamethrower.
Something to make the firestorm trait good. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
I want a bigger template.
You like the apocalypse sized flamer that you got for when the Warhound came out, and it had the yeah that'd be cool.
After doing the mortar rule, I really want some sort of like carapace launchers for Reavers and stuff with the same sort of rule.
Oh, there you go. I think we just have to sweet talk Danny Van Dyke, I think.
Yeah, we need to shout out Danny, don't we, for doing the design. And I want to shout out to Howard as well, who's he's going to be the template guy. He's actually working on a nice colour printout as well. So there's loads of people that are doing loads of work on all this stuff.
Yeah, I think as well, big thank you to Battlebling for providing us with this fantastic model. I'm really enjoying painting it. As you can see, I've not got very far at the moment, but you can't see the mountain of trim. So just the cathedral, I think, has got as much trim as the entire Warmaster Titan. And then you've got the legs and the bodies and everything else.
I'm massively intimidated by the whole thing, in fact.
You've heard about how I do my trim, right? Seven stages of highlighting and shading. So I've seriously made a crutch for my own back, a rod for my own back, even. But it's going to be Gryphonicus, so he's got to match that guy. I can't have him a different colour, right?
Mine's going Mortis.
It's going to have to be a box art matchup coming on at some point.
Definitely.
Chris, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Pleasure as always. I'll see you again soon.
Cheers, buddy. You take care.
So there you have it. Big thank you to Chris from Tabletop Standard for coming on the show. It was really great to have him on. And, he's been on this podcast now a couple of times. It's always great to meet up with him, chat with him, hang out with him, us and them. Ever since we started, Chris has done a lot to kind of support the channel, which has been great. Helps that we're kind of location kind of neighbours as well. So hopefully I will be going on the channel at some point to play with our Warbreaker Titans when they're all done, which would be sick. But yeah, big thank you to Chris. If you do have any questions about anything we discussed in that last section, then yeah, do drop us a comment in the comment section, or ping us on Discord, or email us at maximalfire@gmail.com. Of course, at the time that we were recording this, Johnny hasn't seen any of this yet.
No.
So so yeah, just smile and nod, Johnny. Smile and nod.
It was really good, Alex.
How good was that?
Amazing reporting.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
BBC
just
standard.
Natural interviewer, I think you'll agree. Right, so we wanted, obviously, it's been a while since we've done a Legio deep dive. Still quite a few of them to do, quite a lot of traitors to do. This is kind of like the backhander that I agreed with Johnny prior to him agreeing to come on this show, that eventually we would do Legio Vulpa, and then he'd be quiet for another few months.
You make it sound like such a bad thing.
It was a big old arm wrench. You know, like you had really twisted my arm behind my back and made me do something. But yes, so the Death Stalkers. I have the book in front of me here. We're going to do the usual format, and we'll read through some of the rules and kind of like give us our kind of thoughts and opinions of them. I think the thing about Vulpa is, if you are looking for a close combat Legio, then I think it's safe to say that these guys do close combat better than any other Legion in the game. I think there's some close contenders. Notable mentions, I think, to Legio Lania Scara and Gryphonicus as well. Do close combat really, really well. But these guys... yeah. But these guys do combat very, very well.
The best.
They hurt very hard. They hurt a lot when they hit you. And yes, if that is what really kind of gets you excited about playing a game, is close combat. You want the best close combat Legio in the game. Vulpa is definitely going to be a contender for this. So we alluded to earlier on, these guys are a little bit crazy.
Oh yeah. They are, as Alex said, the close combat Legio. Everything in their kit helps out in kind of close range. You know, there is, when you play Vulpa, well, if you play Vulpa like I do, you don't play the shooting phase.
You just bypass that entirely.
You just bypass that phase. I'm pretty sure I haven't shot in Titanicus for a good amount of time. Yeah, they're sick. They're awesome.
The combat phase for you is just another opportunity to keep punching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And the movement phase as well.
What is this ballistic skill thing that you're talking about? What is that all about?
Well, we'll get to that, but they actually lose ballistic skill in certain situations as well. So it really reinforces the fact that you should not worry about shooting.
But they do not care either, really, about losing a bit of ballistic skill.
No, they do not need to care. But yeah, really cool Legio. The lore is awesome. Even before, it's the classic Night Lord syndrome, right? Even before the Horus Heresy started, these guys were the bad guys. They were, you know, they had very questionable tactics. They came from a planet where they venerated this mega Xenos, or I guess for them it wasn't a Xenos, but a mega beast that was like an apex hunter. Their whole thing is like tracking and the thrill of the hunt, and then the kind of coup de grace at the end, the kind of finishing blow. And so that skeletal cat-like creature you see on a lot of their symbology, that's that, essentially. They're, yeah, really, really awesome. Destined to turn traitor. You know, the kind of the Princeps Signoris doesn't even know like the names or the faces of the Moderati in their Titans with them. They, if you read Titan Death, basically sums up why they're, you know, assholes, to put it lightly.
And that is a great book for kind of getting into the lore. And they also, that book as well also made me fall in love a little bit with Solaria. That was my first real kind of like dipping in of the toe into Solaria, and there is a relationship there between those two legios, and you know the kind of dark history that Vulpa had. You know, previously, you know, essentially kind of like quite close legios which were fractured apart by one war sphere, essentially, where
Yeah, I mean they both the legios have like this hunting philosophy. Solaria just are a lot more humane about it, I guess. We'll get into a couple of the reasons why Vulpa are less humane when we get to their war gear section. But yeah, these guys are just awesome. Anyone that knows me and has played against me, I've only really properly run Vulpa in any tournament I've been in. Last tournament, I did just run full melee, and it did surprisingly well. So yeah, don't let your dreams be dreams. Just whack on 2 chainsaws on your on your reavers and
Why
just have
stop
a
at
really
2?
really good time. Oh, sorry, yeah, like 4. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why stop at 2? Just keep going. Keep
Yeah.
adding arms. But
Keep
these,
adding
like
arms.
in that vein, like they are also a legio which lends itself very much to corrupt titans, and they were some of the first in lore to be kind of turned to, the to the will of Khorne. Very much kind of like blood for the blood gods. Even before they started corrupting their titans, they'd very much given themselves over as a legio to, the worship of Khorne. And so there's so many corruption options available to you, which will make what is already a pretty devastating close combat legio even more painful.
Yeah,
so,
even before corruptions came out,
they were good then.
Nasty. And I mean, these corruptions really just they were made for Vulpa. And just as a quick add-on as well, if you're someone that likes converting, this the corruptions that you want to definitely whack on a lot of your titans get to be really really cool when it's Vulpa as well. So that's always a bonus.
So shall we have a read through the rules? Okay,
yes.
So as always, they have a series of, they've got a little bit of everything. In total, I think they've got 4 here, which I think is less than some get, but is about the average. So they have 1 Legio trait, 1 stratagem, and 2 pieces of war gear. So their 1 Legio traits, this is the thing which is active all the time, is Honour and Blood. The Legio Vulpa I will start again. The Legio Vulpa value the honour of close quarters battle. Honour? Is honour the right word for Legio Vulpa? Anyway, we're
before the heresy.
So they honour the close quarters battle where they can see the eyes of their foes, or in the case of Titan warfare, their armoured heads, and feel the concussive force of their weapons smash into them. So if a Legio Vulpa Titan is within 5 inches of an enemy Titan, increase its weapon skill by 1 to a maximum of 2+, and decrease its ballistic skill by 1 to a minimum of 6+. So, I mean, obviously that's leaning even more into the the close combat area there, right? I mean, if you're packing a close combat weapon on a Reaver, you're probably already going to be hitting on a 2+ anyway. So really, this what we're kind of where we're seeing the benefit here is probably in smash attacks, I guess, for because you'd be with a Reaver then hitting on 3s with a smash attack.
Anything that negates to hit modifiers as well.
Yeah. Warhounds would see a bit of play again with the smash attacks, but also the Warlords, which I think if you've got an Atrioc Power Claw, if you're starting within 5 inches, your weapon skill's 5+, you get +2 for the Atrioc. So you're normally hitting on 3s, which means it's a 2-up. If you're starting within 5 inches, which is, it's pretty good. But you're not going to get those that bonus on the charge if you are charging from distance. So you're only going to get that if you are. Oh no, actually, it just says Just says if
it's when the attacks are resolved, so it will be once the charge has been made.
Yeah, absolutely. My mistake. Yeah, no. So if it is within 5 inches, which is always going to be melee, increase its weapon skill by 1 to a maximum of 2+, and decrease its ballistic skill by 1 to a minimum of 6+. So it's sacrificing some of its shooting ability for its combat ability.
Let's be real. If you're within 5 inches and you're shooting, Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's good. Well, even then, right? I mean, you're probably going to pack, if you were a Reaver, for instance, you're probably going to pack a Vulcan Mega Bolter on top, at which point that -1 is negating your +1 for close range. So you'd be on a net 3+ to hit. Targeting, you're still going to be hitting on a 4+ with a targeted attack with a Vulcan Mega Bolter, so it's not terrible, even with that. You probably just want to combo it with weapons like that rather than, low rate of fire weapons like the plasma. What's it called? Not the plasma blaster.
Blast gun.
No, the plasma destructor. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
The 2-barrel one.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Oh wait, are you talking about turbo?
I'm not talking about I'm talking about
turbo laser.
Turbo
destructor.
laser destructors is what I'm talking about. Nothing plasma. Like, oh god, gee me, it's too late.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is going to happen all the time. Whenever you're within close combat, you're going to be getting that +1 to hit. So your smash attacks are going to be hitting on 3+ for your Reavers. Your like I say, your close combat weapons on a Reaver aren't going to need it, but it means more hits going in from your smash attacks, and then everything else is going to be getting a bonus. Which might be the difference between a 2+ or a 3+, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a big difference when you're trying to get those hits in. So yes, it's a really good trait. It lends itself thoroughly into what it is designed to do as a Legio. Great trait.
Oh yeah.
So next up is the Legio specific stratagem, No Pity for the Vanquished. This is a 1-point stratagem. Killing fury is common to many Titan Princeps. The thrill of a felled foe echoed by a raging machine spirit and feeding back through the MIU. Deathstalker's Princeps often give into this battle madness, riding the wave of exhilaration and letting their attacks become almost instinctive. So this stratagem may be purchased by any Legio Vulpa player. Play this stratagem when the Titan is when an enemy Titan is destroyed, i.e., it makes a roll on the catastrophic damage table. The Titan who inflicted the killing attack may immediately make another attack with the same weapon system against a fresh target within 12 inches of the destroyed Titan. For all intents and purposes, this is a new attack requiring a new dice roll and increases the Titan's reactor level, etc. So if you charged somebody with this and you killed it, it doesn't allow you to charge again, like, say, Reckless Maverick does for Gryphonicus. It would allow you to then basically choose another target and hit it. Now, that's not great normally for melee unless you can line yourself up to be hitting, or rather have 2 targets within 2 inches of you when you charge.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were fighting against a Fortis, for instance, where you know that those that they're going to want to stay in base-to-base contact, what you do here is you don't charge base to base, you charge kind of between the two. Aim to kill the first one with that first hit, and then if you do, you can play this stratagem and you can make that exact same attack against the person next to you, because otherwise you're going to be using guns and they're not as good with that. But it is only a 1-point stratagem, so even if it meant that you were then trying to ping some shields off, I think for an extra round of shooting, it's not bad for a point.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I really wish they're such a cool Legio, and I really wish that they're kind of at least one of their stratagem is something that will give the melee maybe a bit of a buff, or like a chain charge, maybe not necessarily letting you do a free charge, but letting you do some movement after killing an enemy Titan in close combat to give you that bit of
like a consolidation move or something instead.
Like it's just like charging past, like not stopping, going nuts. I feel like that kind of more encapsulates the thing. It's really awkward. It is probably something, if you were going to do a bit more shooting with them, it's probably possibly worth picking up. I think there's a lot of really good stratagems, including tertiary objectives, that 1 point could go to far better use with.
I think it also depends on the Titans that you're taking. I think if you're taking a Warlord which has got on top like some some Gatling blasters, and it's got like a plasma cannon or something. Oh, it is the same weapon system though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. That is the really big thing. So it's kind of, even if you get to that perfect situation where you somehow do get to do a finishing blow with a shooting attack or a melee attack, the chances of another single attack or attack with that weapon, you're probably not going to be netting too much from it. You'd have to be like in a really good position to get a lot of damage out of the second.
Have you ever taken it?
shot. No, never, ever, ever, ever.
I think it's very situational. The more I read it, the more I kind of dwell over it. You really need to be lining up those overlapping charges, and you need to be in a situation where you can confidently say that that's going to happen. Unless, like I say, unless you're playing against something like a Fortis, maybe an Extergimus, something which is quite static, it's going to be tricky to get that off. But at one point, it might be something that you might want to have, knowing that it might not get used. But to your point, there is other things that you could take instead. Would I? How much is? I'm gonna have.
I don't doubt in the future, one of my games, there'll be a point where if I had that, I'll kick myself for not bringing that stratagem. But so far, in all the games I've played, there has never been a situation where I would have benefited any more from it. I've been in situations where one of my fully melee Reavers has been ganged up on by two other Reavers, but even then, it didn't need them. It doesn't need that stratagem.
I've just opened up Titan Toolbox, which, by the way, is a very, very good app if you want to use stratagems on your phone. I've used this for ages. It's really, really good. Every single stratagem is in here for all. I believe all of the Legio ones are in here as well. And I was just interested to see kind of like how much stuff was. And, 1 point is 1 point, but would I take it over Last Ditch Effort? Where you can control where you fall if you die. Would I take it over Concealment Barrage? I'm not sure.
And with that as well, you can only pick a fresh target within 12 of the destroyed Titan, right?
Yeah.
So anything mega shooty,
it might not even happen. Yeah.
It might not even happen.
Yeah. You might that situation may come up and then you might not have a target. Yeah, it's fine that it's not great, because there's other things in this which are pretty damn good. So we'll leave that one alone for now. If you have had play out of it and we've missed something really obvious, do let us know in the comments or drop us a note, right? But
please let me know.
Interesting that
I'd love to use it.
Yeah, he's desperate to learn how to play with his own Legio.
Whoa. No.
So the next up is the first of two specific war gears that they have. So this one is Shikarian Conduits, or Shakira Conduits.
Yeah.
As I like to call these ones. So the Legio Vulpa possessed a well-known tendency to favour close quarters combat. Do they? They haven't mentioned that anywhere else in the fluff. To facilitate this, its titans would often make use of modified reactor fetters known as Shakira conduits.
Oh, damn it.
That would drain and divert reserve power from weapons to enable faster movement. So any Legio Vulpa Titan with a scale of 7 or higher may take Shakarian conduits for 20 points. A Titan with this upgrade increases its boosted speed by 2, its boosted maneuver characteristic by 1. If during a round the Titan with this upgrade declares power to locomotors or power to stabilizers at least once, then for the remainder of that round the Titan decreases the dice value of all of its weapons without the melee trait by 1 to a minimum of 1. And in addition, the Titan suffers a -2 penalty to its ballistic skill to a maximum of 6+. So that sounds like quite a hefty penalty. But 20 points is a pretty decent kind of area to be paying for some war gear. It's not bad. It's not cheap, but it's not terrible. Scale 7 or higher basically means at the moment Reavers plus, so all the way up to Iconoclast. And that extra 2 inches movement is actually pretty damn good. Now, I was talking to a guy called Mark Mallard at one of our previous. He's another one that just runs Vulpa. I've not seen him run anything else, and I can't remember the exact numbers that he said, but he was saying that you can basically get an iconoclast, like I think it's like 24 inches across the board in one turn. So if you've got Shikari conduits, let's take that as the example. So you've got a boosted movement of 6 on an iconoclast. This would make it 8. If you then as well took the Warlust stratagem, that basically allows you to add 2 to your command checks when attempting to issue the full stride order, and adds 2 inches to its boosted movement speed. That means that you give it a full stride. So in the first, say you get that off. So you've got the Shakiran conduits, which take it to, what did I say, 8. That takes it to 10. You then pop your allegiance ability. Forget the name of that one. What's it called? Unbridled Hatred.
Unbridled Hatred, that's the one.
Which adds another 2 inches. So you're at 12 inches at this point. You can only use the 2-inch move once from Unbridled Hatred, but it adds +1 to all of your melee attacks for the whole game. I mean, it wouldn't come into a factor if you were full striding. But you would then get to move that 10 inches again in the full stride. So that in itself, without me even really thinking about it, and I'm pretty sure there's other ways that you can boost this even further, is 22 inches on a iconoclast in one round. Throw in a warp displacement as well. And you could be even further up the table. So
they are speedy.
Yeah, I mean, you put that on a Reaver, like a Manic Reaver, 9-inch boosted, 11 inches for the Shakira conduits. I have taken the Warlost purely for the extra 2 inches of boosted speed. So that goes from 11 to 13. That could potentially be a 15-inch charge with a 2-inch range. So you are effectively charging something within 17 inches, just by a combination of stratagems, allegiance abilities, and war gear. So it's definitely a surprise move, that, and
yeah. With all this stuff, like I mentioned last tournament, I ran a melee warlord. And it moved quick, and people did not. You just don't expect them, because you're so used to them ambling about in the corner of the board a couple of inches each direction, and to have this thing like plow down the board with 2 huge claws, really kind of throws people off. And then it kind of adds the distraction Carnifex trope that you hear throughout all the tabletop games of, do we shoot this big warlord that's ploughing down the center of the table completely out of cover, or the pack of 3 Reavers behind it that are beginning to spread out, so Shakira conduits were a new addition to Vulpa with the Traitor book, and a much appreciated addition.
It's
they're
one
that
of
was
the
the
few...
big issue before, was getting them into combat. Getting them close enough, because it would turn into, how many Vulpa Reavers can we shoot down before they make it to our side of the board? And now they make it to our side of the board on turn 1. Oh crap!
and this was the point that I was just about to make. Like, previously, close combat warlords were a little bit pointless. They were cheap, but there was historically never a reason why I would take a close combat warlord over putting a plasma cannon in that spot, because effectively when you put an Atriot Power Claw onto your warlord, it's a weapon that certainly for most legios and historically would spend 2 turns doing nothing. So instead of potentially adding its firepower and killing things in turn 1 and turn 2, it was a weapon which was waiting for a charge, and Vulpa, I think, are one of the few legios which can convincingly make use of warlords with close combat weapons, and with a combination of all of these abilities, the +1 weapon skill for their legio trait, means that those atrioc power claws are hitting on 2s. The Shakiran conduits as well, the extra 2 inches. If you ran a Desolator Chainsword Iconoclast, maybe even 2 of them, like two chainswords, that thing's got the 4-inch range. So again, you've got that even bigger threat range around its front arc. It's still within 4 inches, which means it's within 5 inches for the honor and blood. So you're getting the bonus to hit there as well. So there's lots of things like that which stack up well for Vulpa to kind of allow it to do melee really, really well.
Absolutely. They did the thing we lost for the inclusion of Shakira conduits wasn't really worth it anyway. They were called plasma gargoyles.
Oh yeah.
Lore-wise, really cool. Basically goes back to the days. Part of the reason why they fell out with Legio Solaria is that they would vent their nuclear plasma reactors from their Titans to essentially wipe out a city of civilians for the sake of it, to subjugate them, even though they already won. But in gameplay, it didn't really do anything.
It was very defensive,
but knights,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a very defensive thing. Like you say, it only really bothered knights. And it's a cool fluff thing, right? But it needs to do what it's designed to do well first, I think. So yeah, I really like Shikarian conduits. It's priced well. You're not going to put it on everything. You're probably going to put it on, well, depending on if you're running like you do, an all melee list, you're probably going to put it on everything. But you're only going to put it on the ones that you want to get up the field quickly. And I mean, you can factor in corruptions as well with this. So like Unbridled Hatred is that 15 points or is that 20?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Free charge.
Yes, that gives you the free charge. It also adds 1 to the dice value of any weapons with a melee trait. So again, it's more hits, hitting better, free charge. Overwhelming Rage is a little bit of a kind of no-brainer with that. While we're talking about, I know we've kind of gone off-piste a little bit away from the main rules, but the other one that I'd run with these is Organic Protrusions.
Yep. Especially on Warhounds, makes Warhound melee combat actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Combined with every other bonus that you get through Vulpa.
Yeah. So that's the one which basically changes its dice value to a set 3 rather than a D3, and also means that it has a short range of 2 instead of 1. So it's the same distance as a regular close combat attack, which is really good. And all of those smash attacks and all of those bonuses do kind of go in quite nicely to the next piece of war gear that they've got, albeit this is quite a pricey one, this one, isn't it? I don't think this is something you're probably going to need to take on everything, but maybe on a handful you might want to think about.
I think anything that you plan to get into close combat, which should be most of your army, should have it. I think you should try and find the points.
So you
100%.
You would go the full 55 points per Titan to get both pieces of war gear.
35.
But with the 20 for the Shakirian conduits as well.
Oh, yeah. I would, if I was running low on points, I'd rather get rid of the Shakira conduits and take a mutation that speeds up like preternatural grace. Yeah, disruption emitters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why you would do that. I think that this is probably quite. My gut on this is it's very expensive, but like you say,
yeah.
This is similar to mutations, that it's going to dial up what you do well to 11, but you're going to sacrifice on hulls. So you probably aren't going to be taking as many Titans, but the Titans that you're going to be taking are going to be putting in more. They're basically going to be punching above their weight, literally.
If you have an all melee Titan with disruption emitters, you are one-shotting Reavers. If it's a Reaver, you're one-shotting your same weight class, and you've got a really damn good chance of doing the same to a Warlord as well.
Shall we tell them how it works?
Yeah, I'll give them my sneaky insider. Okay, this is how I managed to cheese a little bit through that tournament.
They need to know what the actual rule. I need to read the rules first.
All right.
Let's give them a taste of the rules first. So, disruption emitters. So, close combat was not the natural environment for many Titans. To enhance its ability in such warfare, the Legio Vulpa made modifications to their war machines, fixing disruption fields to armor plates and limbs to enhance the destructive potential of close encounters. Any Legio Vulpa Titan may take disruption emitters for 35 points. A Titan with this upgrade adds 2 to the strength of all weapons with the melee trait. Oh, not including smash attacks. It is equipped with... Sorry, let me read that again. So it adds 2 to the strength value of all weapons with a melee trait, not including smash attacks it is equipped with, and counts its scale as 2 higher when making smash attacks. So it is basically getting a +2 strength.
Yeah.
It's getting it on the base rather than getting it on the dice roll, I guess. So you are talking about a close combat Reaver with this, with strength 10 rending chain fists, and you are talking about strength 10 smash attacks.
So yeah, strength 10 smash attacks, strength 10 chain fist attacks, which you're getting a lot of attacks from it anyway. You then also have on top of that as well, if you kind of really want to boost up a couple of mutations, but really, I mean, this is enough, right? And the idea is you want to, normally you don't really aim for the head because it's really, really heavily armored. But in this case, because you are starting at 10s anyway, or higher, if you pop the allegiance ability as well, you get +1 to your strength, I believe, for that round of combat. You can just completely track ahead, because I think you're getting is it 3 attacks per chain fist?
3 attacks per chain fist. If you do if they're unbridled hatred, they're getting an extra 1, which would make it 4. If you also pop unbridled hatred, it increases it by a further 1, which will make it 5. Plus your charge, if you're charging, plus extra dice for charging. So let's say a conservative 1, which is 6s hitting on 2s at strength 10 to a free location.
And that's just 3 per arm as well. So you've got the other 3 for the...
Not on the charge, but certainly...
Not on the charge, no. But when you're in the combat phase.
Yeah.
It is insane. And you've got a very, very good chance of tracking ahead, getting a ton of crits on a Titan's head, a Reaver's head. And it works out really well. You combine that with the, I believe, 1-point tertiary stratagem, which rewards you... I forget the name of it. I did have it written down somewhere. It rewards you for, I think it's called decapitation or something like that. It literally rewards you for cutting off the head of enemy Titan in close combat. Because it's a melee attack, you're not losing any weapon skill for targeting a location, so you're still hitting on 2s against this head, so you're hitting most of them. And we found out a lot, especially in the last 2 tournaments, that tertiary objectives really do make a difference on ladders as well.
In a tournament setting, yeah. I mean, we worked out that if just the basic one where you get up to 5 points for killing 5 Titans over 5 games, that's the equivalent. The way that we point it, because we do victory points, cumulative victory points. It worked out as like effectively a free maximum pointed primary objective, 30 points, 25 points. Sorry. Not maximum, but nearly maximum, 25. Yeah, crazy. And then looking at the Edgehook Power Claw, right, that's strength 12 basic. So on a Warlord, it becomes strength 14 with strength 12 smash attacks. We're talking strength 14 smash attacks on a Iconoclast. what's the Desolator Chainsword? Is that
Oh God.
is that 11? Hold on, I'm having a look on TIE Terminal.
Yeah. It's
so
good.
no, that's it is only 10, but that makes it strength 12. But yeah, with a 4-inch range with bypass and rending, so it's like a souped up chain fist at that point.
Go for the head. Just go for, unless there's another location that's already damaged. Go for the head.
Yeah,
and you just one shot them, and you've got a very, very good chance of doing that with a entirely melee kitted out.
And even if they survive, they're going to be so knackered. They're going to be taking negatives to their command check. They're probably going to be taking negatives to hit you back. They may even shut down. With the Princeps wounded ability effect. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe you phase it like that. I guess you have to kind of consider this to almost be a Vulpa tax. Like of 35 points that you're going to take, similar to like with corruptions. You can't. The points do stack up, and you're going to have to be comfortable with the fact you're probably going to be running less Titans than your opponent if you're taking all of this stuff. But assuming you can get them into combat through various tricks, warp displacement being the obvious one, right? Then it should take care of more than what its own points in value. Very good. So before we go on to the kind of the personal traits, obviously everything with this Legio is themed around is the close combat. I think it is a bit of a one-trick pony, right? If you can't get into close combat, then you will struggle. The obvious matchup I've seen against these guys where there's been a lot of pain inflicted is against anything with a lot of quake. So in particular, Legio Kratos with their Earthshaker missiles, because they don't, if they pop that stratagem, which they're gonna take if they know they're playing Vulpa, they don't even need to bypass your shields to quake you, and that means you're then half speed, and that's going to ruin your day, and it's going to give them enough time to kind of get shot up essentially, and negate that first round charge, which is going to be really frustrating from your perspective as well as a Vulpa player, if your whole turn has been spent kind of getting ready for that, and then all of a sudden like you find that you're not going to get where you want to.
Yeah, but it's not, as much as I love them, especially going all melee, it is not a viable. You're not going to find it win every game. There are some lists like you just explained that you will just suffer, and there is no counterplay to it, because if you can't get into an opponent's face, then you can't fight. Essentially,
and even if you don't have a list like Vulpa, there are things that you can do to mitigate any close combat Legio. For instance, scatterable mines makes that area of dangerous terrain, so you know that, well, if you're going to come at me, then you're going to take some damage on the way through. Thermal mines as well, do a move, damage to your legs, little things like that which can potentially slow it down. Earthshaker mines as well. I've seen that kind of. I played against Oliver the other day. Matt. Sorry, our friend Matt the other day, and I took my Lania Scara and he Earthshaker mined me. It needed to go basically in any direction other than directly one side or the other for me to be taking damage or colliding with another Titan. I went straight to the right, which actually made my charge so much easier, and I was able to go charge off. Which I didn't think I was going to be able to before. But Earthshaker Mind as well moves things about. You can cause collisions, that kind of stuff. So there are stratagems that you can take to kind of mitigate it. But really, it would be, if it was me playing against them, like if you can get some Warhounds kind of in their flanks shooting off weapons, that is like another thing you can do. Because if you let these guys get in close combat with you, it's going to be tricky to kind of come back from that.
Yeah, once they start, they don't stop. They whirlwind through enemy lines, like you wouldn't believe.
I'll tell you what I saw, which was quite interesting, which I hadn't even considered before I saw it. Again, speaking to Mark Mallard, he at the last tournament took a Vulpa Direwolf,
Oh, that was an awesome conversion.
And the thing about that as well is, like, I was like, you are just mad, because you're not really making any use out of it. But that stalk unseen ability, not stalk, I think it's just called stalk actually, ability, where you can basically set it up in your opponent's area, basically means if you set it up so you can pick your target right, then again, distraction can't effects, right? Turn 1, you've got something in close combat with you, and it's deal with it, or let it kind of just take care of the lightly armored stuff, right? Like warhounds or what's it called? Reavers, the stuff which has got kind of that low armor. All the while, the rest of your force is kind of coming up the table, and he did that to some great effect. And I think he was combining it. I think it was a neutron laser that he took as well, so he had that option as well that he could then try and shut down Titans as well. So yeah, really, really good use, and something I'd never considered before for Vulpa.
No, not at all.
So let's look at the rather mixed bag of personal traits.
The personal traits aren't that great for Vulpa, which is a little bit sad, but we'll get through them quickly.
I'll say this right from the start. If you're rolling, don't bother. Roll on the D6 table and you might get something a bit better. But if you can choose them, I think there's probably one in here which I would go for. One is incredibly situational. But anyway, Razor Tongue is the first one. The Princeps is skilled at delivering biting challenges and chilling threats, unnerving their opponent even before the first blow is struck. At the start of each round, the Princeps can choose an enemy Titan within 24 inches of its own Titan. For the duration of the round, that chosen Titan subtracts 2 from the result of any command check it makes. I think that's pretty good. It's every round. It's a command check. So every time, if you pick something which is going to be pushing a lot for whatever reason, then it's going to be rolling, because you don't get a +2 normally for a Princeps, say for instance, when he's rolling on the what's it called, Machine Spirit.
Yeah,
it just uses its base. So a base for a Reaver is 4, which means that it's a 6. So out of a D10, it's less than a 50-50 now. Or no, it is a 50-50. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it is a 50-50. Which is much better. And obviously it's if you think somebody's going to charge you, put that on there for that round. So I think that one's the good one. I think that has got potential. If you're playing against somebody like, is it Osadax, that don't never suffer penalties to command? Yeah, it's not going to work. So you need to kind of make sure that you're choosing the right targets and the right legios.
There's so much in the game that either want to fail command checks or have ways to mitigate the loss that you could occasionally find use for it. But I just think that they're just better.
I mean, if
demonic traits.
If you're playing against somebody who does take negatives to their command check, I mean, I would couple that probably with a Titan, which has got that upgrade, which puts another -1 to command checks with everything within, I think it's 8 inches. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but there's other things you could stack with it, and you could probably have that in mind if you're picking, and build around it. But it's okay. There's definitely better Princeps traits out there, but it's not bad. The second one, Bloodied but Unbroken. The more damage that the Princeps sustains, the more driven they become, seeking to ensure that even should they fail, their enemies are sure to fall with them. For each point of critical damage the Princeps Titan has suffered, not including the critical damage inflicted on weapons, increase the strength of any weapons with the melee trait and their smash attacks by 1 to a maximum of 3. Which sounds great, but you're probably not going to need it, right? Because you've got all these other things which increase your strength.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And
your
you're
strength
basically
is
dead.
so high.
Yeah, it's like a last hurrah.
Yeah.
You're in a position here whereby you're going to die anyway. And if you get another round of combat, that one time that you might get. However, I mean, if you take some early critical damage and just critical hits, so you're not tracked, you're just taking a critical point, and that damage has been spread over multiple locations by a volcano cannon or something.
Mm.
You're getting that +3 anyway, and you've still got a long way to go before you die. But again, it's very situational. It might never come up, and you might, even if it does come up, you might not live long enough to reap the benefit.
Exactly. A lot of the games you'll play as Vulpa, you will probably hit the enemy gun line with some damage, and often critical damage. You do so much strength, high strength attacks anyway, that the extra 1 or 2 you're getting from it, sure, is great. But then, if you're doing well, it's not helping you, as much as it could. You also got to hope that, it's just on one Titan. You got to remember, see, this is specifically, this Titan has got to be damaged and critically, you're not super useful.
No, I mean, again, I'd be rolling on the D6, I think, here. Your +1 to a repair roll, or your re-rollable dice in the combat phase, or, what's it called? Dominant strategist. There's 3 of them there, which are instantly better. Swift killer as well. Less so for these guys, but if you've got a warlord, for instance, being able to turn and shoot with your carapace or something is still going to be better than that, I think, which might happen at some point, may have an effect on the game, might not. The last one, I've taken this before on Lania Scarlet, but Cruel. The Princeps has no pity for weaklings. Unworthy foes are swiftly crushed underfoot, with little thought for honour or mercy. After all, what mercy does the boot give the ant? When making attacks against units of scale 5 or lower, increase the strength of hits by 2. Perfect if you're playing a knight household. Amazing if you're playing a knight household.
Yeah.
But pretty crap if you're not. No, very, very crap if you're not.
Scale 5, like, come on.
It's not even a warhound. So
No.
it's only going to be knights. +2 strength against the casters. That's good. They've got super high strength, right? So that means that your plasma blast guns on Maximal are strength 12, which means that you're instantly killing one on a 5-up. Because that's the, I think they've got 17 plus for an instant kill. So yeah, it's great against knights and great against knights households, but unfortunately not very good at all against the majority of people who you will play, which will be other Titans, and not worth it if somebody is taking like a unit of knights again to sacrifice that over something else.
The only kind of that's the thing as well is it's with all weapons, which I think is cool. But if you're meleeing knights, again with Vulpa's bonuses, do you really need +2?
You don't need it, do you?
Now, it's a different question if your a Princeps has like Mega Bolter Array or some kind of high rate of fire, generally low damage weapon, because that +2 strength is pretty big for something that fires a lot of shots.
Yeah,
so that's where I can maybe see it come into play. But yeah, unless you're going up against lots of knights, don't bother.
So what mana pools would you take for Vulpa?
Oh, Corsair.
See, when I was thinking of this one, the obvious one for me was like, oh, you take a Ferox. But actually, no, it is the kind of quote-unquote combat mana pool, but they don't really want Warhounds, do they? You want to be looking at Reavers, and like you say, the Corsair, 5 Reavers, maneuverability, able to kind of get into positions where you wouldn't necessarily expect them. I think that for a Reaver, that is really the kind of one that you want to go for.
Reaver is the perfect combat frame for Titanicus. It's quick enough to get into combat, and it can hit hard enough to actually make it be worth getting into combat. Sure, Warlord is going to hit harder, but it's not going to get into combat quick enough unless you pull off some jank and use a lot of your stratagems and a lot of your abilities like tailor towards jumping a Warlord up the board. it's just safer to go for a Corsair. People also, the Ferox as well, the ability of swapping the ballistic skill with the weapon skill around counteracts
Not really as big a deal, is it?
Vulpa's ability, because Vulpa lowers the ballistic skill
Yeah.
when you're within 5 inches. So actually, it completely nullifies itself. I think it is a May ability. So
That's what I was just looking at, actually. Yeah.
But what you're getting from it, you're getting a Reaver, great, but you're getting 2 Warhounds as well. Again, yeah.
It is a May. I mean, the Ferox is the perfect one for Gryphonicus to take for close combat, because they can do the Titan swap. So you can take a 5 Reaver Ferox with Gryphonicus, which is what makes Gryphonicus ones quite deadly, because that's a really good combination to take for them. I was trying to kind of come up with some sort of heavier maniples which you could take in some Warlords and some Reavers, and kind of controversial, but I was looking at the Fortis battle line. So that's two Warlords, 3 Reavers, and okay, one of their main abilities is they don't take damage if they're stationary and they haven't moved and they're base to base, but they can share shields, and they don't have to be stationary for the shield sharing. So I was thinking, that charge in with a Warlord and a Reaver paired, they can share shields on the way in as long as they're staying in base to base. I believe that's how it works. And then that kind of helps them weather that initial kind of run in. The only problem there would be if you did pair them up like that, one is faster than the other by quite a bit.
That's the issue. Is do you want to be walking a Reaver the same speed as a Warlord, or do you want to just be zipping from cover to cover, bouncing up the board?
And another one which is a little bit controversial. I was just trying to think out of the box and just say some things other than the usual ones, which we always do. I was looking at Ruptura. It means you would have obviously 2 Warbringers. You've got to take the 2 Warbringers, but they have the so if a Warbringer, so the base thing is once per turn you can declare powers to locomotors on 1 Reaver for free. So that's good for getting things up.
Really solid.
Every turn. But then if the Warbringer Nemesis Titan did kill something, then is it all? Yeah, each Reaver in the maniple can then make a move as if it was the movement phase. So that could be 3 more sets of charges going off.
Yeah.
But it is very, very dependent on actually getting a kill with the Nemesis.
Yeah, and here's the thing as well, is that if your Nemesis is getting a kill, either the Reaver is already close enough and has softened up the target, or you've had enough firepower in your list to help the Nemesis get the kill, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I like it. I really do. I love the idea of just being able to surge Reavers up the board. Yeah, I really like the idea of like a heavy Warhound list, just a swarm of Warhounds with the organic protrusions, and just meleeing, like headbutting with a load of little ankle biters. I think it would be hilarious. Actually, I think you'd probably be surprised about how well it actually would probably do.
Well, if you kind of went down that route, another curveball one. Thinking about that, I was just looking. Mandatum. So that's 1 Warlord and 4 Warhounds. So if you wanted to try and make the Vulpa Warhound list work, so that the Mandatum is as long as the Warlord Titan from this maniple is on the battlefield, Warhound Titans from this maniple add 2 to the result of any command checks made when issuing orders. So good for getting a charge off with them because they are normally command 5. In addition, Warhounds from this maniple add +1 to the hit rolls for any attacks made against units within 12 inches of the Warlord Titan. So it's another hit bonus, I guess, which for them, like we say, they're only using smash attacks. So if they're within 5 inches, they're getting the +1. So on, is it what do they have basic? Is it 4 plus? It is 4 plus, isn't it? Warhounds. Weapon skills 4 plus.
Yeah.
So their Legio trait makes it a 3+. If it's within 12 inches of the Warlord, it becomes a 2+. So 2+ smash attacks to hit. If you I don't know why you would, but if you spent 35 points to make it a scale 8 smash attack, and you couple that with overwhelming rage to gain an additional dice, and you couple it with organic protrusions to make it 3, then it's 4+ charge smash attacks on a 2+. Different way of thinking about it, but not the obvious choice.
No, it's quite. I quite like it. I think I just want to see someone do a Warhound heavy Vulpa list, but just gear them up for melee.
Yeah.
I just someone just go cheapest possible loadout like Vulcan Megabolters or Flamers, and just charge them.
Well, of course, one of those you could swap out for a Direwolf as well.
Yeah.
So you could take 3 in a Direwolf.
If you're trying to be serious, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we touched on corruptions already, but I think the standout ones are Preternatural Grace, Overwhelming Rage, Organic Protrusions, any of those kind of things. I think on some it might be Frozen Soul might be worth taking on some. If you are really, really pushing hot, maybe Warhounds. If you are worried about kind of keeping your reactor cool, giving you those extra 2 dice for that, but probably not the obvious one out of those 3 anyway.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I think corruptions are really hard because obviously you've got to take into account your command check.
Yeah, your negatives. Yeah.
As well, which can stack quite quickly because there's a lot of very nice mutations here.
Absolutely.
Preternatural regeneration on the melee warlord.
Of course,
as someone who has tested that.
That's an expensive one, though, isn't it? I think
expensive, 50 points, but 2 additional repair dice.
Yeah.
Whenever you make a repair roll, nothing else, affecting it whatsoever. You just get 2 additional dice, basically, like you have 2 extra crew.
Yeah.
It keeps it alive a lot longer as it slowly chugs its way up the wall.
Absolutely, yeah, and you might need that extra time just to keep your shields up or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the really, really big one. That is. I think speaking of the leadership command check lowering, there is a new bit of traitor war gear, or a newish bit of traitor war gear, which lets you pick on your machine spirit. Or I guess it's not called machine spirit when it
awakened entity.
Awakened entity. That's it. I think that is pretty important. If you are running like a single all melee piece within your like mixed loadout Vulpa list, like a normal sane person would, as opposed to doing all melee, you definitely want that on there. I'm just trying to find the name now, because some of these options, which you are very likely going to fail, will really, really ruin your plans.
It's a singular purpose, isn't it?
Singular purpose. That's the one.
And it's cheap as well, 15 points, and you basically pick whatever you want, and you're obviously going to be picking the one which keeps you moving forward or does a charge, whichever one that is. Is it Wrathful?
So you've got Blood Hungry, which makes you move towards the. Here's the thing, right? All of these are friend or foe. So you want to make sure that all your melee stuff is looking straight ahead and there is nothing in the arcs, which also makes Warhounds a bit awkward as well.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, because you do have that risk with the negatives when you start piling on those corruptions. Very important. At least you got some control over of how you do it. That's why I very rarely issue orders and things to corrupted titans, unless I've got like the Bloodthirsty or Overwhelming Rage or something which is giving you that bonus or freebie on a charge order or something. Definitely does help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
100%.
There you have it, guys. That's our kind of hot take on Legio Vulpa. Really enjoyed that. Like you say, it is a little bit of a one-trick pony, but what it does is it does do that trick very, very well. I was always unsure about combat when I first started delving into AT. Always found it quite difficult to kind of get all of the dots lined up perfectly to kind of make the, to get the payoff. But when you get it, and if you persevere with it, it is one of the most satisfying elements of AT. And no, I played, just very quickly, I played a game with my Iconoclast against Matt Bramley the other week, and with my Iconoclast, I think I managed to get off a 15-inch charge, and it came down to millimeters. I was just in with 15 inches, including the weapon range of the Desolator Chainsaw, the 4 inches of that. And I was just in, and I'd done the maths. I was that meme of all of the calculations going off in my head.
Rain Man.
Yeah, and I got it. I was spot on. It was so sad. I was like, yes, because not only was I able to hit him, but I was picking up a massive goldfish bowl of dice and throwing it to take out this warhound. It was really satisfying, and it is a very satisfying element of the game. And these guys do it probably better than all of them. I want us to do a Laniascara Vulpa off at some point. Just sort of who is the best.
Prove Oliver wrong.
Yeah, the best of the traitor combat legios.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not the bullish trade, which allows you to make a free smash attack as well as a combat attack, offsets the lower strength of that Vulpa have over them. But yeah, that's it. Do let us know what you think. If you maybe feel like we've missed anything, as always, let us know in the comments. Email us, get on the Discord, ping us. Always looking forward to kind of interact with the community and see what you think. And that is it for today, I think. Hope you've enjoyed it. I think once again we've gone over time when we factor in the interview with Chris as well. But do remember, please give us a like and subscribe. Do hit the old bell. Check out some of our other videos. Check out some of our bat reps as well. Like I said, we're not had a few out for a while yet, but that content is ramping up, and hopefully we'll be able to get quite a few more of those out towards the end of this year and certainly into next year. Get a few new faces on it as well. Maybe a few guests in to play some games with us. And do jump on the Discord. And if you are around on the 19th of November, hopefully we've been approved by Games Workshop to do it. But
I don't know after this pod.
You never know. It would be great to see people up at Warhammer World. If the date changes, we'll make sure it's all over our socials. And yeah, I guess until next time, it just leaves me with one more thing to say, which Johnny is probably going to try and ruin for me like he has done the last two podcasts. So I'm going to call it out in the hope that he does the bigger man thing and decides that this week he's going to leave me with my sign off. Johnny?
I'm ready.
You're ready? So always remember, guys, thank you very much, and always go big, go loud, and go maximal.
I go maximal.